Welcome to Fatman Beyond. I'm Kevin Smith.
I am Marc Bernardin.
Hey! Holy fuck, man. What a great night to be here. Thanks for packing the place and shit. We are here, as always, at the Scum and Villainy Cantina in Hollywood, on Hollywood Boulevard, in fucking Hollywood. Put your hands together so the folks at home know that you're real.
Did you see me come in with my Tom Cruise run?
I did.
I was fucking like Mission Impossible 6.
You went fucking fast. You also went the other side, which I thought was kind of classy.
Right?
It looked like a 70s show, like Sonny and Cher coming out.
Sonny and Cher. Am I Cher? Can I be Cher?
Absolutely.
Fuck
You're
yeah.
Cher in my heart. I did something today.
Ooh.
I met a fucking celebrity, and I never do shit like this. I don't really name drop a lot, but I will fucking name drop this because this is badass and shit. I got a text from Jordan. Jason's wife runs our company. And Jordan goes, do you want to go over to Disney at 9:40 and meet someone from the Marvel Universe? And I was like, fuck yes. Like, I'm already awake. I usually wake up 6, 7 o'clock, start waking and baking. Mm-hmm. So by 9:40, I'd be blissfully high enough to meet anybody.
Who do you got?
Oh my God. And thankfully, it was somebody that, like, being high helped to be around because the conversation was very minimal. I met Goose today.
Wow.
The actual fucking Goose, man. Like, and so Jordan's like, do you want to go to Disney and take a picture with Goose? And I'm like, and this is the weird thing. Jordan's mom is named Goose. That's her nickname. Like, that's what Jason calls her. So that's the Goose in my world. So I was like, why the fuck would I go to Disney and take a picture with your mother? Like, why don't we just do it at her house? And she's like, no, Goose the cat. And I was like, oh, shit. And I had this moment of like, I don't know, do I really want to fucking drive like 5 miles to take a photo with a cat and shit? But then I was like, fucking, it's Goose. So, so I said, you know what? Yeah, man. Like, I was about to get into some sound shit on the movie, but I was like, this could wait a minute and shit. You know, I will totally go over there. And then in the background, I heard, like on the other side of her phone, go like, why don't you fucking ask me, asshole? And it was Jason. And I'm like, why would I? Like, she asked me. Why are you yelling at me? Yell at your wife and shit. And she's like, don't start a fight with us. And so I was like, come with me. I'm sure, like, fucking, if they want me to take a picture, I'm sure they'd like Jay and Silent Bob to take a picture and stuff like that. And he was like, I thought you'd never ask. So he came over, and we drove over the hill to Disney. And this is my favorite part of the morning. You know, Disney lot, for those who have never been there, and for those who don't live in the area and have not seen the building, one of the buildings has the 7 dwarfs in it, built into the structure.
It's the animation building, yeah.
Is that the animation building? But they're giant, like built into the pillars. Like if society collapses and shit like that, and they unearth these buildings like 1,000 years from now, they'll be like, they worshipped these little men. Like,
this was their Supreme Court.
yeah, this is their Easter Island. But so we pull up, and Muse, I guess, has never fucking been there because we're going to the Frank Wells building. That's where they're doing the Captain Marvel event and stuff. So we pull up, and we get to park in the front, and then Disney, they got this like courtyard where it's a bunch of plaques with handprints of like Disney legends and icons and shit like that. And they got a sculpture of Mickey and Walt, and they got a sculpture of Roy and Minnie and stuff like that you could sit next to and take a picture. And I've seen all these things, but he's never been there. So he gets out of the car and he was like, what the fuck? Like as if he was high. And fucking, he was like, what the fuck? He's like, you gotta take pictures. I was like, we're gonna go take a picture with a very famous fucking cat. Let's go do that, man. And he goes, first this. And so we went into the courtyard and he stood in front of the fucking dwarfs and took a picture, but it was so tiny. I was like, you come to the severe foreground, and I got the dwarfs in the background. You just come right up here to the camera. And he's like, you never stop fucking directing. And I was like, I'm trying to fucking give you the shot that you look for and shit. And then he goes, you gotta line me up, because the way the dwarfs are structured is there's 6 of them, and then on top is Dopey. So he goes, you gotta line me up over the top guy. And I go, what's the fucking top guy to you? Because to me, the top guy would be Doc. And he's like, the guy up top. And I was like, the dwarf up top whose name you apparently don't fucking know? I was like, what kind of fucking, I started for the first time in my life, I was like, maybe he's a Russian spy. Like, how do you not, I was like, it's fucking Dopey. And he goes like, yeah, I know, but what's his name? And I said, no, his name is fucking Dopey, man. And he goes, oh, he didn't fucking know the name of Dopey. That makes him fucking suspect in my book, man. Crazy suspect. So we go inside to the Frank Wells building and shit. We find the event where, you know, they're having like a media event. I guess there were some human beings there, but they only said you could meet the cat. So
Sam Jackson doesn't want to say hi.
I guess they're like, you're good enough for the cat. It felt like that Caddyshack moment where he's like, I got a pool and a pond. Pond be good for you, you know. So we got in and they gave us fucking bags of swag right away. I was like, this was worth the fucking ride over the hill, man. I got some free shit. Like I put on power bands that make noises and shit. They gave me a copy of the movie, but I already bought that. And I said that to them. I was like, I already bought it. They're like, we know you fucking tweeted about it and shit. I was like, right on. I think that's how I got it.
We're watching you.
I guess. I think that's why they were like, do you want to take a picture with the Flurkin? So they gave us shirts as well. Mm. And they're like, do you want a shirt? And I was like, oh, fuck yeah. I was like, if you have a bathroom, I'll go put the shirt on now. Because like I had a Stan Lee shirt on. I felt that was appropriate. But this was very Flurkin, fucking Goose-centric. So I took the shirt and I went into the bathroom to fucking change. I'm in the bathroom 40 seconds. Jason walks in right behind me, also with a shirt. And I'm like, we can't fucking both wear the free t-shirt, man, in the photo. And he's like, we got it. So we fucking went in looking like, you know, DeVito Schwarzenegger twins standing next to the cat. And the cat was awesome, dude. Like, the cat honestly was worth the trip alone because he was so fucking sweet. Like, some cats are really indifferent, like, fuck you. But this cat, as soon as I came in, I know what to go for on a cat. Like, I don't want to brag, but I know how to treat a cat and shit. So I went in right for the fucking spot and shit, and he leaned the fuck into it. And so they were, like, shooting video, and I was like, oh, my God, look at him leaning into this fucking pet, man. This is the first fucking Marvel star I ever met did that. I met Chris Hemsworth. He didn't lean into my pet at all and shit. And they liked that very much. And then we sat there, took a picture with him. We found out some factoids about him. He's 13 years old. That's why he's such a good cat, because he's fucking like, I'm on my way out. He's incredibly well behaved. They put him on a spot on a table, and he didn't fucking move. Even though I was petting him, he would do that cat lean into it where he almost fell over, but he wouldn't leave his spot and shit. And
I bet he was high too.
Probably. No
little
doubt.
CBD kibbles right there. Catnip
that
that
shit.
shit.
Catnip and shit. Well, what they would do is periodically, they would stealth try to come in, like, 'cause there were 3 ladies who were Goose's handlers and stuff. And one would come in periodically and be like, oh, good. But then I noticed that she was like palming him a treat and shit. So giving him a treat on the sly. And I caught her and I was like, you don't have to, like, I'm a grown man. Like, you could tell me that Goose is well behaved because he takes a treat and shit, not because he likes me or something like that. But yeah, she was like, you know, we give him a treat, just, you know, keep him chill and whatnot. But he was so fucking well behaved. It was nuts. So adorable. I grew up with a lot of cats. We didn't have dogs. And then later in life when I got married, it flipped and it's all fucking dogs and no cats. So it's been a long time since I got up in some pussy, pun intended. But it was fucking, it was really fucking fun, man. We took a picture and stuff. It was kind of sweet. Very, very cool.
I also went to a movie lot. Not today.
Where?
Universal.
Ooh, what for?
I went to the theme park. Like any other fucking person could just do. Yeah, my sister-in-law was in town from Jersey. Represent! And she's like, I want to go to the theme park. I said, all right, if you want. Like, I've been 98 fucking times, but sure, I'll go.
Why that one?
I don't know.
Harry Potter?
No, she could give a fuck about Harry Potter. She was just like, I think she didn't want to drive forever to go to Disney, and I'm glad because I didn't want to pay for Disney. Because that's no fucking joke for like 5 people.
Yeah, that is pricey, right?
Yeah, and so the highlight of my time was because if you've never been to the Universal Hollywood, it's basically a series of escalators because they only have but so much space up top. And then like you're gonna go on the studio tour, that's another escalator down, then back up to the lower lot where there's now like 2 rides left. There's the Mummy ride, the Mummy indoor roller coaster, and the Transformers ride. The Jurassic Park ride, they're refurbishing. It's not going to be Jurassic World.
Jurassic World, yeah.
That did not stop them, however, from not playing that music throughout the park.
Bam, 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 bam,
And so,
bam,
yeah,
bam.
like everybody else wanted to go on a roller coaster. I don't do roller coasters because I'm that kind of pussy. So I'm like, that's cool. I'll just wait here with my daughter, who also doesn't do roller coasters. So we're just kind of sitting there. You can't wander that much because you're 19 escalators away from civilization.
Yes.
So I'm trapped there for like an hour. And, at first, bum, 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 ba-na-na-na-na-na, it's cool. And you're like, yay, all right, whatever.
It's like,
people
oh, I'm
do.
back in the 90s
It's
where everything was
awesome.
better and shit. Yeah.
Welcome to Jurassic Park. That's like, great. An hour of that shit? by like minute 53, I'm like the top of my lungs. Ba, 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 ba-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da, oh hey, ba, ba, it keeps going, the same fucking cue.
It's also all hand job, no orgasm. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, so it's like getting jerked off for an hour where you're like, I get it, man.
I mean, just give me the like.
Yeah, vary it up and shit.
Nope.
Slap a little ET on me, man.
Yeah, to the point where like Bumblebee walks over. It's like, are you all right, man? It's like, no. I'd lost my damn mind. Thank you, Universal.
That escalator, man, or the 26 escalators that it takes to get up and down. I remember one time, like this is early on, this is like 1995. I guess when we were in post on Mallrats, Alphaville was one of the producers on it. Jim Jacks, the dearly departed Jim Jacks, responsible for bringing you such movies as Dazed and Confused and Tremors and Tombstone and the Mummy series, the Mummy that people liked, and many other fucking movies. Also brought you Mallrats. So their office, Jim Jacks and Sean Daniels, were set up at Universal. So when we were in post here, we were posting at CBS Radford. That's where the movie was being cut by the editor, Paul. The rest of the time, we just hung out with Jim at his offices on the lot. And Jim was making other movies, so sometimes he'd be like, get out of here, you guys, you're just fucking hanging out, get out of here, go explore the lot. So me and Moj would jump in fucking the go-karts, like the golf carts, and drive all over. Got to drive like up behind the tour, up to Psycho House and shit like that. Just had carte blanche fucking driving around. I forgot why I started telling this story. I just went to the past, and I was like, what good times, man.
Before there were 26 escalators.
Yes, beautiful, thank you. So, thank you, that's important. This was right in that era. So, during this time, because he was working on the lot, we had to run the lot. So we can go to Universal like anytime we wanted, and you go through the back door and shit like that. It was awesome. I was like, life's always going to be like this, and it never was like that again. So appreciate what you have when it happens, because then it's fucking gone. So this is during that era, when we could freely run in and out of the Universal theme park and shit. No bullshit. It's late at night, man, because we were in the office, and I was like, fuck, man, let's go for it. Let's go for the ET ride, because that was our favorite like bad ride in the world. I don't know if it's gone, right? Because the Mummy took it over and shit. For those that don't remember, it was like the height of technology when they opened Universal like studios and shit, the tour. But by the time they closed it down, it was not. It was just old, and the part of the thing was you go through it, like there was maquettes set up and shit, and woods, so the whole thing smelled like pine saw. And like when you went in, you told people your name, and so like they wrote your name into a card and then like swiped the card, gave it to you and shit. Then when you got on like the bike, because that was the ride, like it was you and a couple other folks and shit, you swipe your card and shit as you get onto the bike, and you didn't understand what it was until you got to the end of the ride. So then the bike takes off, and it's kind of like a not nearly as endearing version of the Peter Pan ride at Disneyland, where you're just soaring above shit and whatnot, and they take you through some highlights of E.T. But then at the fucking end, there's E.T., and as everybody's coming in for a landing on the bike, the card that you swiped was meant to make him say your name as people left. So he'd be like, bye, Mark. Bye, Kevin. Bye, Susan. Like that was the highlight. You're like, oh fuck, this E.T.'s gonna say my name, and it was also the height of technology in its day. Unbelievable. So, like, by the time, we started hanging out there, it was 95, and most people stopped going to this ride altogether and shit, so there was no wait whatsoever. And me and Moshe would get in line and always give, like, fucking terrible names and shit, like cock. And they're like, bullshit. And they're like, no, C-O-C-C, it's Swedish, I swear. And just pray that E.T. would be like, bye, cock, Never fucking happened, man. The technology, like, didn't let it go and shit. So it was late at night. We were like, fuck it, let's go ride E.T. and shit. We rode E.T. and made fun of it. Came out and had to take the escalators all the way back up to go where we were going. As we're coming up the escalators, this is no fucking bullshit. It's fucking dead, right? There's nobody else there. We thought we were the only two in the park. You come up the one set, and there's a little landing. You come up the other set. It's the second set. Me and Moshe come off the landing of the first set. We're bullshitting, making fun of E.T. Turn around. 2 people fucking on that escalator. Was the most magical thing I've ever seen at a theme park in my life, man. It was like I was taken aback, and they quickly fucking
Were they like laying down? Like explain,
just
paint me a
flat
picture.
out bent the fuck over, man, as it was going on the side. So if this is, how this is the railing on an escalator. Here, stand here.
Okay.
This is the railing on the escalator. He's doing this and shit. I don't have to fucking show you what fucking looks like.
Nope.
But I'm just got to remind you that the bar is curved. They're doing this while they're vertically ascending.
Wow.
To their, I guess it would be their right. You know what I'm saying? So that's a skill test as this is going on. And as we rounded the corner and shit, they must have heard our feet, but they definitely heard me go, holy shit! And my man and the 2 of them went fucking... They were, because of the angle. They went dashing up the fucking escalator. As if we were going to chase them. Like, hey, what was that all about? Show us how that's done. But I guess they thought we were like park employees and shit. But even if I was a park employee, I would have been like,
well done.
yeah, holy shit, I never thought of this. Like, fucking, who thinks of that, man? Who's like, we're on an escalator, let's try to fuck.
Teenagers.
They weren't teenagers, though. They were definitely in their mid-20s. They looked to be about our age and shit. And I was hoping that we run into them up top just to be like, you want to go to dinner? I just want to pick your brain. Amazing park. Yeah.
My visit was not anything like that. There were a lot of wands around, but nothing was...
Did you go to the Potter World park?
Yeah, I totally did.
Did you buy a wand?
I did not, because my kids don't give a shit. So I'm not gonna hold them hostage while I go and do I get a phoenix feather or a unicorn hair? Is the center of my wand.
You don't get anything. The wand chooses the wizard, man.
Precisely.
Very geeky.
I did go to the movies though.
What'd you see?
I saw Godzilla.
Oh, fuck.
Yes.
Now, by those applause, does that mean people also saw it as well?
Yeah.
That's a lot of people. All right, let's do it this way. How many people did not see Godzilla this weekend? I am one of those folks, and I do want to see it. How many people did see Godzilla this weekend? How many people were displeased by Godzilla this weekend? Not much. How many people were pleased by Godzilla this weekend? Mark, where are you?
Here's the thing.
You always got to ruin the curve, man.
Listen, Godzilla movies are basically pornography in that all you were there to see is Godzilla punch things in the face and breathe blue fire at it.
Very true.
Every other scene is bullshit to get to the next scene.
Yeah, that's
where Godzilla blows fire.
That's the pizza delivery guy showing up and going, "Hey, did you order this?"
I know. It's like, "Oh, you need tennis lessons? Great! I happen to be a tennis pro."
Are you sure your husband's not coming home?
I got you sausage.
Yeah, like fuck this! Bring out Godzilla!
Precisely. So the human story is fine. It's as fine as it has to be.
Right.
To just literally keep you invested enough to be, oh shit, Rodan's gonna show up? Fuck yeah, Rodan is showing up.
They all show up, don't they?
They all show up.
Is there anybody show up that they didn't show in the trailer? What?
Yeah.
Yes? Can I guess?
Yeah. I mean, there's some monsters that show up at the end that are not Toho monsters because they're like not even named. Like it's in the front credits, like Rodan, Ghidra, Mothra, and Godzilla appear courtesy of Toho Limited,
right?
Who were the guys who made the original Godzilla in like 1956. Then there's some other ones. There's like a fucking like spider creature and some weird woolly mammoth thing that like they don't even mention. They're like, we just made those fucking things up.
So wait, I'm sorry, Gamera doesn't show up at all?
No.
What happened there?
They're saving it.
He's from what? He's what?
He's friends to all children.
Yeah.
Different company.
Is it a different company? It wasn't Toho? Interesting.
Yeah.
There
And
it is.
no Godzuki.
Well, of course not. But in the world of Toho, his name was Minya, not so much Godzuki.
That's right.
All right, so wait, take me there. How is it? Is it enough fighting?
Yeah, and way better than the first one because the first Godzilla movie, the Gareth Edwards one.
That was where they were like, let them fight.
Let
and they're
them
about to
fight.
fight, and then the
The
garage
fucking
doors
door
close and
closes.
shit.
It's nothing but like it's blue ball on your way through that movie
Yeah.
of just like, oh, Godzilla's here. Ah. I remember taking my son at the time was like 9 years old. We went to go see Godzilla, and he said, for a movie called Godzilla, you'd thought there'd be more Godzilla in it. And I said, yeah, that's true. This one, plenty of Godzilla.
They make up for it far more than Godzilla.
They make up for it. But they also, it feels like the more you add the mythology onto it, the less interesting it gets.
So what's their mythology?
Their mythology is that
these titans protect us. And
these
shit?
titans protect Earth, and we happen to be like a parasite that's infecting Earth, which is why the titans are rising to get rid of us. And so we should let them fight because I guess self-loathing humans.
Why does it? I saw in the trailer like shit goes south, like something bad happens.
It's more.
Is it a world? Is it a post-apocalyptic world, or is it our world?
I mean, it gets there. I mean, somebody has a hate on for fucking Boston because they destroy Boston like nobody's fucking business.
Spoilers.
Sorry, like it's the one city they haven't killed yet. So like, let's go to fucking Boston.
Really?
I hate that fucking town.
Godzilla's like
you.
massholes.
You got no place to park your car now, asshole.
How many fights? Here, let me ask you this.
Ask me this.
How are anybody friends?
Yes. There's a king of the monsters, which is Godzilla.
Yes.
There's also a queen of the monsters, which is Mothra.
Who said that?
The movie at some point was like, if
So
there's
now they're gonna fucking have a baby?
well, it's more like they are kind of the mated pair, but they don't fuck. But it's like Mothra's there, like a good wife to support her husband when he dies of atomic fire, and so she just kind of like breathes out pheromones, maybe I don't know,
And
to
brings
bring
him
him back
back?
to life. Yeah, there's a whole weird gender dynamic thing there. There's that too. She sacrifices herself for Godzilla because again,
Fucking spoilers, man! What the fuck?
I'm sorry.
Jesus!
Also,
All I asked was this Gamera in it. Fuck.
yeah. No, listen. Like I had a blast going.
Is
to
it
see
fun to see?
It's fun to see because if
Should
you're like,
one see this in 40x?
one should see this in as many DXs as they can. if 4 is the top, then go to 4. But like I was a Godzilla kid. I grew up watching Godzilla movies on back in the East Coast on
Me too. 4:30 movie.
on WPIX or Fox 5, like either one.
I think the 4:30 movie for me was on Channel 7. Did you ever see the 4:30 movie? Did you have that? You had
Yeah,
to. We
yeah.
had the New York feed. They
Yeah.
had this amazing fucking feature on every day, Mondays to Fridays, on Channel 7, which was ABC affiliate, and it was called the 4:30 movie. And it started at 4:30, and it ended at 6 o'clock when the news began. This is before they invented the 5 o'clock news. So 6 o'clock the news began. So from 4:30 till 6 o'clock, you watched an entire feature. However, there were commercial breaks. So if you think about it, 4:30 to 6, it's about 22 minutes of commercials almost. It's almost, you're taking a movie down to nearly an hour. And they didn't really do part 1 and part 2. So like they would do themed weeks. So like, they would do Planet of the Apes week, where they did all 5 Planet of the Apes movies, one after another, but each one incredibly shortened. So much so that when I bought the Laserdisc set from Japan of of Planet of the Apes, all the fucking movies letterboxed before Fox put it out years ago, I sat down to watch it. I was like, right on, man. I'm going to see it in its proper aspect ratio. And the movie begins, and they're on a fucking spaceship, which never happened in the 4:30 movie version. So I was like, God damn it, the Japanese got the better version of this fucking movie, man. And there's this whole scene where he's talking about, like, are we the modern day Adam? Are we all gonna fuck this lady in space? I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it's a crazy opening sequence, but that's part of the movie proper. But to me, it wasn't for most of my life. I knew a much shorter version of that movie. And I gotta be honest with you, the 4:30 movie version was better.
It moves.
It really does. So they would do themed weeks, and one they did, of course, was Monster Week, which would be Godzilla, Destroy All Monsters,
Mechagodzilla.
Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla.
Do they throw King Kong into that one?
Sometimes, if they had never the fucking King Kong that we knew, and never the black and white, not the '77 King Kong, because that was happening at that point, and certainly not the black and white one, but maybe the Toho version.
Yeah.
Like if they had a Toho license, they would run those flicks. So that's how I knew those films. And then later on, Walter Flanagan, the guy from Comic Book Men, that's his religion. Like Toho is his fucking faith. And in Mallrats, we talk about going to the dirt mall, and like fucking Renee yells at him about Godzilla bootlegs and shit. That was a big part of our existence, where like Toho started making movies again, pre-internet, and like the suits were still fucking suits, but the detail looked much better. It was still the same spirit of the original Toho, big rubber monsters. Detail got much better, but you couldn't get them here. It's pre-internet, so it couldn't be like, oh, there was no way to find them unless you went to like the dirt mall and went to a bootleg stand and found somebody who's like trading Godzilla bootlegs from overseas and shit. So we would spend a lot of time going to like remote places looking for Godzilla bootlegs, and once we found them, he would take them home and fucking like, it would be a religious ceremony and shit. It was pretty incredible. So I knew he was looking very forward to this. I do want to check in with him to be like, did you see it? He liked the last one, but he was like, my problem with those movies are too many fucking humans. He's like, I don't need a word of dialogue. I just want to see all of them fight and shit.
I will say there was one Godzilla movie that made the human story totally riveting. It was Shin Godzilla. Godzilla Resurgence, I think it was the title when it came here. But it was basically about these Japanese salarymen. This one guy worked in like the 98th level of bureaucracy in the Japanese government who knew that fucking Godzilla was coming.
Right.
And nobody would believe him. Like, it's about the failure of the system to recognize danger and the success of the system to protect itself at all costs. And so it's ultimately about how, human interference in its own preservation is its own doom.
Right.
And it's harrowing. Like and I mentioned it online, that and Chernobyl are kind of the same story, in that it's like radioactive disaster because men and women and the government is unwilling to do the things it needs to do to protect itself. And in fact, the barnacling of systems and red tape and bureaucracy is what's keeping us from saving ourselves. It's fascinating. Like, and it becomes a movie that's sociologically interesting, which is what Godzilla always was.
Yeah, it's true. It wasn't just like rubber suits and shit. It was always about like, we have created a monster with the atomic bomb.
Yeah, like the only country to ever be victim to nuclear annihilation, making a movie about nuclear annihilation in the shape of a giant monster. Like, it's fascinating looking at it that way. It would then get fucking silly because he's got this kid who can barely blow smoke rings, but at one point...
Stop picking on fucking Minya, man. That's really got it in for him and shit. I wonder, that's kind of oddly fascinating. So is America meant to be Godzilla? In the allegory? The creator of Godzilla? So yeah, that was always kind of mentioned in the background?
Yeah. And also it's a movie, like I remember again showing it to the same kid who went at 9 to Godzilla. I was like, where's fucking Godzilla? I showed him the first one just before that. And I had never noticed how much that story works, because you're feeling bad for Godzilla because he doesn't want to be doing any of this. Like my son was just like, oh, he doesn't want to destroy Tokyo. He doesn't want to step on that building. He just can't. He's in a place he doesn't want to be. He just wants to go home. Like he's the kid who broke the lamp and didn't know he broke the lamp.
Yes.
And it's like, I didn't, but it was just there. And I was playing the game and I broke it's not my fault though. I didn't mean to crush all of Tokyo. I'm just giant. My bad is you did
In
this
that
to
way,
me.
it's kind of a sci-fi version of Nutty Professor.
A little bit. It's a bit that. It's a bit Frankenstein.
A
but
little
it's,
bit.
And it's a kid's story at the end of the day. But yeah, I would go if you dig Godzilla, go see King of the Monsters. Like it scratches all those itches you want it to scratch, and the human story is. They got the best fucking actors in the world to do some of this dumbass.
They got like Vera Farmiga. They got
Kyle Chandler. They got David Strathairn. They got O'Shea Jackson Jr. They got Anthony Ramos from Hamilton. They got they went soup to nuts and like let's get really good people to say these dumbass fucking lines.
And they got 11, right?
And they got 11, Millie Bobby Brown, who emotes very well.
I did not see that, but you know what I watched? I caught up on season 1 of, and then also watched season 2 and went through them very fast. There's only a few of them, but my God, they're fucking fantastic. It's outside genre, but really well done. You see Fleabag yet?
No, I've heard it's amazing.
Oh my God, it's fucking astounding. Like, invest the time. It's like, you know, I can't say it's like daringly original because we've seen things that are similar, particularly like there's a trope that she uses about turning to the camera to address it and acknowledge it and stuff. But it's so breathtakingly honest and like funny as fuck and heartbreaking. Like it's like it seems like it was made for me. My favorite shit in the world is shit that can make you laugh and then instantly like rip your heart out as well. And this absolutely did it. And it was 6 episodes, like a half hour a piece. So what is that? 5 hours or 10 hours total?
3.
Yeah, it was quick. It was a quick in and out. My math is terrible, obviously.
But your
totally
fun game
worth
is on
your
point.
time, man. Particularly like as a writer, I think you'd really dig it. I was so fucking pleased with the time I put into it. Really, like, again, like I didn't want to take anything away by saying it's not like I'm not saying it's not original. It takes like a familiar trope and puts an incredibly original spin on it, a fresh take on it. And her performance, the lady who created the show, is also
Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Oh my God, she was the voice. I guess I can link it to our world. She was in Solo. She was the robot in Solo, becomes the Millennium Falcon. She is fantastic, like just spellbinding as a lead, man. I've enjoyed the fuck out of it. It's a story about a woman in London. I mean, that's the best I can do for it. But it's fucking riveting. Really well done storytelling.
You know what I was impressed by?
What?
Swamp Thing.
You watched it?
I did. Did anybody
When
else
did it
watch
happen?
Swamp Thing? No? The fuck you come in this bar and not watch Swamp Thing?
I didn't even know it was available.
How did you come in this bar and not watch Swamp Thing?
It dropped?
Yeah, the first episode dropped.
They doing them one at a time?
Yeah, one a week.
How is it?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I mean, there's a certain amount of suspense that you lose if you're a nerd and you know that the minute Alec Holland shows up, you're like, oh, you in danger, girl.
Yeah.
Like, oh, bad shit's gonna happen to you, man. You just wait.
So wait, it don't start off with a swamp thing?
It starts off with shit in the swamp doing stuff, like, you know, vines and tentacles and all of that shit, but you do not see the Swamp Thing creature from the jump.
Is it told in flashback, or they don't have a swamp thing yet?
They don't have a Swamp Thing yet.
So Alec, spoilers, if you don't know the story of Swamp Thing.
Yes, spoilers.
Alec Holland is the human being who will eventually become kinda the Swamp Thing. His intelligence will inform the Swamp Thing, depending on which version. It sounds like they're doing Alan Moore.
It feels like it, yeah.
So does the explosion happen by the end of episode 1?
Spoilers, yes.
Good. That's a good way to end it. I mean, if you know Swamp Thing at all, like that, you don't get to go further in the story until Alec Holland goes screaming on fire into the swamp.
I mean, I thought there's a world where they could have dragged it out a little bit more, because it opens with like Abby Arcane, who's working for the CDC.
I saw the trailer that was like, oh, that's an interesting
there's
use
some
of
weird
Abby
shit
Arcane.
happening in the swamp, and people are getting sick, and it's an illness nobody can recognize. And then there's some corporation that's doing testing in the swamp, and they're like dropping nodules of this weird viral thing that's causing the swamp to over metastasize. And there's like, oh, and hey, she runs into Alec Holland, who's like, I know some shit too. And then like, oh, we should know some shit together, right? Right, this would be great. Maybe we can like have a drink together and it'll be a whole thing. I just got to go collect this sample from the swamp. Boom! And it explodes. Sorry, we told you, spoilers.
No Linda Holland?
Not that we've seen.
Okay.
Not that we've seen. But
Makes it cleaner, I'm sure.
Yeah. But it's super deep in body horror. Like, it's all about, like, fucking, vines and twigs and all that shit, like, working into bodies and, like, exploding shit from the inside out. It is way better than I expected it to be.
It was directed by
Len Wiseman.
Lenny Wiseman, the guy who directed me at one point in Live Free or Die Hard. And he did Sleepy Hollow. Is that the name of the show?
He did that, yeah.
For a while?
Yeah.
He did, of course, most famous for Underworld series was his, and he created it and stuff. Did he do every episode or just?
I don't know. My guess is he only did the pilot because he's one of those guys you bring in as a director on a pilot to make sure that pilot goes.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know who else is doing them, but it's really well done.
I'm fucking in. Is it a full hour or like 42 minutes?
Full hour.
Really?
Full hour. Yeah, and it looks great because I understand they built a giant swamp on a set in North Carolina. Like they took an entire soundstage and they just made it a dive tank so that you had it like 5 feet deep and everything is fucking swamp. So when they're doing that stuff, you can control the lighting, you can control where the cameras are, you don't have to deal with nature as it is.
Yeah, fucking, you don't really want to be in a swamp, knee deep in a real swamp and shit.
No, it's really good.
I'm in. Who's playing Alec Holland? Anybody? Is there anybody in the cast you recognize?
The only people I recognized were Virginia Madsen and Will Patton, who play, the names escape me, but they're like the old moneyed people in this town that have it in for Abby Arcane.
Is there a Woodrow? Jason Woodrow?
Maybe?
Not in the pilot yet?
Not in the pilot.
You know
Unless
who
it
that
is and I missed it.
Jason Woodrow, spoilers, becomes the Floronic Man.
Ooh.
I look forward to this show, man. I'm glad you told me that it's on. I can't wait to watch it. I'm going to go watch it when I get home and shit. Now my head's not going to be in the show because I'm going to be like, I want to watch Swamp Thing as soon as I get home. Speaking of seeing a thing.
Yeah.
I think we see guy who's seen a thing.
Last week, Derek Mears, who actually plays the man in the suit, was at your show.
He was here?
Here last week,
Why
yeah.
didn't anybody say something?
He snuck out early. He had to
Fucking
go.
A, the Swamp Thing was here.
Yeah, Swamp Thing was here. We just didn't know it yet.
Speaking of Swamp Things, there he is himself, owner of the bar, man. JC, give it up for him. One look around this place could tell you that JC is a fan of science fiction and all that goes along with it. And in that wonderful giant world of sci-fi, the Star Wars franchise, of course, is included. And the biggest news in the Star Wars franchise at the moment, of course, is Galaxy's Edge, the new theme park that they just opened down the road in Anaheim at Disneyland. It's the biggest expansion they've ever done in Disneyland. What is it, 112 acres?
14 acres,
14 acres or some such shit. Fucking massive. 114, something like that. Math not required for this show. I have not gone. You've not gone.
I have not gone either.
Which I'm questioning why the fuck I haven't gone. So I got to get my ass in gear and go. My cousin Emily just went this week, so I got to ask her about it. But someone we know fucking went. Of course, JC went, and so JC's got a report. Man, tell us about Galaxy's Edge. Walk us through it, dude.
So I went Friday, which was the first public day you could go, and we got a hotel reservation at the Disneyland Hotel for the night before because that guaranteed you entry. The hotel was $700 for that night.
Just for that night?
Yeah.
Fucking.
So people who really wanted it, they knew what they were doing. And I got to go in at 11.
To go to Galaxy's Edge, they're going to put you to poverty's edge, man. Fucking.
Yeah. well, you do. It's a $700 hotel room, $130 ticket to the park. And then I got, the only thing I ate.
Question?
Yes.
When you buy a ticket to Disneyland, does that get you into Galaxy's
Yes.
Edge? Is it included with everything? Or is it
Yes,
something?
but the first 3 or 4 weeks you have to have a reservation in addition
For this preview,
to,
this
yeah.
out-of-town preview.
But typically it'll get you in.
So
And
really,
then-
so in the future, if I'm going to Disneyland, I buy a ticket. That means I also get to go to Galaxy's Edge if I
Yes.
could get my fat ass through the doors and shit like that, because it's packed.
It wasn't bad when I was there because they've limited the amount of people who can go in to the preview time, so it's comfortable.
So did you get to do the entire world?
I did a lot of it. I did the Millennium Falcon ride, which
Take
is
us through it piece by piece. Where's the entry?
the entry that we went through is kind of by Splash Mountain through like the frontier territory.
Okay, I remember when they were building there. Yeah.
But when you get in, it's almost like an inflated version of Cars Land. When you get in, the walls and the mountains and everything are so high, you cannot see Disney, you can't see Anaheim buildings. You're in Star Wars.
completely immersive.
Completely immersive, except for all the people wearing Star Wars t-shirts standing around you.
Right.
But
Just don't look at each other, and it's immersive.
yeah, just pretend. But it's very cool. All of the employees.
Once again, the only thing that ruins Star Wars fans.
Yes.
Sorry. Back to you.
But the employees, it's wild because the employees all pretend like they're villagers on this planet Batu.
So everyone's in character?
Everyone's in character, and so if you go up and ask them something, they treat you like a tourist. Like, well, I don't know what happens on your planet. What planet are you from? But on Batu, we have 3 suns. So we have 3 sunsets. So that's the way they speak to you.
Do they
Like,
put 2 more suns in the sky for you?
I don't.
It's fucking
I was
Disney.
gonna say, do they
Oh,
fucking
shit.
rock 3 sunsets? Like, that's impressive.
So it's very immersive, again, if you can ignore all of the other outworld tourists.
So the story then is like everyone who goes is a visitor from another world.
Yes.
I could go with that. That's
it's,
dope.
It's very neat. All of the shops are built into this little bazaar market that looks a lot like, I don't know, like something you would see in the Mandalorian show, or like Mos Espa from episode 1, like done up more, busier. The Millennium Falcon ride, you go in and you go through like a hangar-ish, and you come into a little mission debriefing.
Do you go up the ramp? Do you go up the ramp?
You don't go up the ramp.
You had one job, Disney.
I'll tell you what, though, coming around, and this is something
Disney, did you hear that disappointment? They just lost about $500. If I was them, I'd get the fuck on that.
Somebody's not getting a Tesla this year.
You come in, you turn the corner, and you see the Millennium Falcon, a life-size Millennium Falcon parked there, and I know you've seen that in real life. But
Which, to be fair, like I saw the guts of a Millennium Falcon, and the outside looked like a movie set. And then separately,
the
I saw
inside.
an exterior piece of the Falcon, but I never saw like a life-size exterior and interior.
I'm pretty jaded. I've done a lot of Star Wars, and coming around that corner, I was you can't help but like the hair on the back of your neck stands up. The guy I was with fell to his knees.
And the music is
bawling.
na 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 na. And Mark's like, God damn it!
So
Fucking drunk John Williams, just whatever it takes.
Couple kids fucking on an escalator.
there was no, the rest of Disney plays music throughout it. When I was there was no music playing in Batu, but what they did is every, 5-10 minutes, they have surround sound speakers all over the tops of the buildings.
Yeah.
And they'd have like an X-Wing fly by.
So you'd hear like,
And you would, it's so realistic, you would even watch the cast members be like,
well, they're acting, JC.
and you would, I said, like, do you ever, are you faking it? They're like, no, we just haven't gotten used to it yet. Like, it's that real sounding.
Right.
And I did, so the Millennium Falcon.
Well, you don't see nothing. They don't put like a fucking
don't
little
put
plastic
anything,
one across the
but-
fucking on a string. and
Yeah.
shit.
But it sounds so real. And then the Millennium Falcon, you kind of get your mission debriefing. Han, I believe, is already gone, so I think this is post episode 7.
Oh, is that
Spoilers.
right?
And so Chewie talks to you, and Hondo, who's the pirate from Star Wars Clone Wars, talks to you, and he sends you out on a mission to, I don't know, steal coaxium, I guess. And
Are they doing the solo story?
And
essentially?
you
Are you
get-
on the Kessel Run?
no, but you get, I guess it changes. So there's different missions you can go on, and the better you do on the missions, the longer the ride goes, or it impacts where you go. And at the end of the ride, based on how well your team did, you get credits. So you get we got 6,000 credits or something, and that will download into your phone. So when you're playing the game in the park, those credits can go to buy virtual hacker software to help hack into the Imperial computer. So even if you don't actually ever go on a ride there, there's a game built into all of the facades of the park,
That's kind of insidious.
which is really cool. The Falcon ride, when you get through the debriefing, you walk into the holding area, is the holding area of the Falcon with the chessboard and the bunk and the whole thing, and they just let you walk around in there, which is crazy because I've been to Star Wars Celebration and the fans build their version of it, but this was probably a third bigger, and it is. I mean, I was like, oh, this could be my bedroom. If I was single forever, this would be my bedroom. It's so cool.
You would be single forever if that was your bedroom.
And then you walk through the hallway from that room down the hallway into the cockpit.
So are there multiple cockpits?
There are multiple cockpits.
Do you see that? People going into
No.
their own doors? So you only see your
You
own?
only see your own.
That's kind of immersive.
And there's 6 people. So there's a pilot, a co-pilot, 2 gunners, and 2 engineers. And it's it's Star Tours if the controls you had actually, you could move where you go.
You were actually in control?
So the pilot controls left and right on the ship. The co-pilot, which is what I was, goes up and down.
And are you in a car that then goes?
Yes, it actually moves.
Like a
And
motion sim?
The projection changes with how you go.
Holy shit.
So then you've got the 2 gunners and the 2 engineers that every time you crash, they have to hit buttons to make it work, to bring the Falcon back. And
Are they all facing forward?
everybody's facing forward. So I think their controls are off to the side, as it wraps around the cockpit. I was the co-pilot, and I'm trying to go up and down, but what gets really cool is a third of the way through the thing, you get to reach up and pull the lever and go to hyperspace.
Go to hyperspace? Holy
Which,
shit.
I don't care who you are,
That's worth a $700 hotel room
Yeah.
right there. You
Yeah.
didn't say that before.
It was incredible. I went in with my friend who did the $200 lightsaber experience, which you guys
build
were
a
talking
lightsaber?
about the Harry Potter wands.
Yeah.
This is like that times 100.
And it costs 100 times more.
$200. $200. There was a 4-hour line to get in. $200 per person. You can do 14 people at a time. And when you're in there, each person, in Harry Potter, it's they pick a cute kid and they're like, we're going to find your wand. Now adults, go buy all these wands. In the lightsaber thing, everybody who pays gets a little lightsaber building station. And so you can do 14 per 20 minutes. So you can do 42 people per hour at $200 is $8,400 per hour. Disney's open for 12 hours. They're doing $100,000 a day in lightsaber sales.
I think it's adorable that you did the math on that shit.
Of course,
man. Oh my God.
I'm sitting there. I'm like, how do they afford all of this? I can't even put 2 bartenders on Fatman Beyond. And then I start doing the math on because I'm not
You need a
building the
lightsaber
lightsabers.
station.
And I'm like, oh my God, that's how. $100,000 in lightsaber sales only.
So the wand chooses the wizard, but the lightsaber chooses the wallet.
Yes.
That is
But-
fucking expensive. But what do you walk? Do you walk out with a
You
lightsaber?
walk out with a lightsaber. If you guys have seen people posting Facebook photos, they look kind of like plastic and cheap, but it's all steel. Like you could kill somebody by grabbing the handle. Like,
Well, that's a fucking reason to go right there,
It's
man.
very-
Fucking, you can buy a lightsaber that will kill somebody. It's all we ever wanted.
but it's very, very cool. Like, this is gonna be very nerdy sounding. This is the place to say. If I didn't have multiple lightsabers at home already, totally would be worth the $200.
What else did you see? Did you see the Coke bottles in different shape? With
Coke bottles are very cool. And if you look, like I went to Ronto Roasters and I got some Nuna beef or Nuna jerky, which is
Made of
turkey
porgs.
jerky. I wish it was made of porgs. So Nunas are the little, like in episode 1, they're the things that like Jabba the Hutt bites the head off and shoots at the gong. And I guess according to lore, they're not supposed to taste very good. And I got Nuna jerky, and it does not taste very good. It's like chewing on tree bark for $7.50. 1 ounce of
I wonder
Nuna
if
jerky.
they were like supposed to taste good and they named them something else. And like, these taste like shit. It's in canon, that they taste
yes.
like shit. Feature, not a bug. Call it the Nuna jerky.
But beyond the Coke bottles,
What do you think it's made of?
it's turkey, but it's just not good. It's just not good. Don't get it.
We took spoiled turkey and called it space.
The drink dispenser where they pour the Coke, all of that is in theme too. So the Coke logo isn't on it. It has like the Orabesh Coke logo, and the 7-Up is all different. It's all they.
Can you tell by the logo? Like, that's the Coke logo, but in the Imperial language.
Yeah, you can basically tell what it is. And they've got fun little Easter eggs all over. Like again, I'm exposing myself. If you can read the Orabesh language, they have like little like nods everywhere. Like in the lightsaber room, I found one where you get the crystals for the lightsaber. It says THX1138, which is kind of fun.
So
And the crystals are the Kaibar crystals?
Yes,
Can you read this language?
I can.
That was what I got. Yeah. That was the story behind the story, is
Like,
what I
hold
took
on.
of it.
Can you read this useless language? Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
to be fair, useless. Not when you own this bar.
Yeah, no doubt.
very
man. It's
impressive
a stock
when
and fucking trade right
People
there.
walk in with their name badges, and it's just like, "Oh, hello, Elizabeth," and people are like, "How do you know my name?" And I'm like, "I used the Force," and they're like, "No, really, how do you know my name, creep?" Like, you have it on your pin, and they're like, "You can read that?" And I was like, "Yes," and they're like, "Okay, creep."
None of this has made me sound any less a creep.
Did you get to go to their cantina?
I did go to their cantina.
And?
Sore spot ahead.
It's very cool.
Yes.
I spend a lot of time in this cantina, and it's amazing, but it's a weird mix for me because I feel very like this is very homey,
Yes.
and that feels somewhere between like a bar and a theme park. So it kind of hits this like middle ground where like they're like, hey, 2 drink minimum, 2 drink maximum, 45 minutes. You're on the clock. What do you want? No, you don't know? Okay. You go over here. Okay, what do you want? Like, it was very like...
I guess they got it right. How many? They only got one of them, this place?
Only one of them. And there's booths kind of around the edge like this, but there are no bar stools anywhere because they don't want people sitting down and
So
spending time there.
are the tables high? So if you go into those
The
alcoves?
booth tables you can sit at. Otherwise it's all bar that you have to stand at, and then like they have a drink rail like behind the bar that another wave of people can stand at. They do have some fun drinks, though. The drinks were pretty good. They have one called a fuzzy tauntaun that when you drink it, it makes your lips and your tongue numb, which is crazy. I have no idea how they did it. It doesn't sound appealing, but it's interesting.
Chemically, to be sure.
Do they
They
pick like some random dude and cut his arm off every like half an hour?
They do not. But Rex, the old pilot of Star Tours,
Yeah.
who got booted is now a DJ at the cantina.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, he's drunk at the bar. I'm out of work. Goddamn aliens.
They have a $75 beer flight that they bring out.
Wait, a $75 what?
4 beers, like beer tastings for $75 that they bring out on a wood board that has rancor teeth in it. And they fill the rancor teeth with the beer.
Does it make it taste like $75?
I could not.
Do you get to
it.
take that cup home?
But you get to take it home.
Worth it.
And it's so cool. And it's not like cheap plastic. It's all like polystone, like if you got a real tiki mug. So that's very cool. It's awesome. It's very cool, but like I'm not going to be driving an hour to Anaheim to spend $140 to go and buy drinks at that bar and
that's
try to
if you're
make
in
friends.
the park and shit. You're like, ooh, but
Yeah, it's very
did they have
though.
blue milk?
They have blue milk in the park that is different than the blue milk in the bar. And it's a lot like ours, but not boozy.
Right.
It's like pineapple and coconut and things like that.
It's like Star Wars butterbeer, right?
Yes. The blue milk is pretty good. Did not try the green milk, but I've heard you don't want
the green milk that came from the nipples in Last Jedi?
Yeah.
They sell that?
Yes.
Do you get to milk the thing yourself?
You do not.
Like Luke Skywalker did? And be like,
You do not. Make an angry face.
That's in Club 33. You got to be a member of Club 33
to be able to do that, to work the nipples.
It's very cool though, like the little shops. I think my expectations were very high. They're like, we have a creature shop here. And I went into the creature shop, I'm like, I want to buy a life-size, like, Salacious Crumb or what, or like a baby.
Do they sell
rainbow.
that?
It's all, I was like, because I'm a 38-year-old with disposable income, I was like, I'm going to go buy this $400 Salacious Crumb thing. And it's not for us, it's for people who have kids, and they're like $15 in little and rubber. So I'm like, that's really cool if I was 12, but at 38, I was like, I want the real thing. Like, there's no such thing as Salacious Crumb.
It's funny because usually at 12, that's when you're like, I want the real thing. And by 38, you realize there is no such thing, but you've reversed the process.
Yes.
What kind of merch do they sell? I seen a picture at one point of wooden stormtroopers. Do they sell those?
They have like a wooden stormtrooper, a wooden C-3PO.
They were made to look like they were made by
almost like the one from Rogue One.
Yeah.
That's very cool. They sell the Dejeric board at the toy shop. So they have like the creature shop, the toy shop, the wardrobe shop.
Is there a droid shop as well?
They have a droid shop, but that is like the lightsaber, and I didn't get into that.
So you pay like a bunch of money. And you get to build a droid.
$150, yeah. And you get to build your own droid. But then you can buy a backpack, and they like will interact with other droids. Like if you buy a droid and I buy a droid, like they'll talk to each other.
So we don't even have to be friends. Our droids will be friends for us.
Yeah, the robots can be friends. The shops are pretty neat. But you can buy very good-looking Jedi robes, but you can't wear them there.
Why? Because then you might be confused with
as
staff.
a cast member, and then a kid goes up and is like, Mr. Qui-Gon, can I get my photo with you? And you've been at the cantina too long, and he's like, screw off, kid.
You've really fucking thought this through, man. You're like, this is where Disney falls apart.
And I like that you think that that's the worst case scenario, is somebody says, screw off, kid. And now they want to touch my lightsaber. No, I got a lightsaber.
It's neat though, like they don't have photo ops with the characters. Like at Disneyland, you just walk around and like, there's Chip and Dale, and you take your photo. At Galaxy's Edge, like we saw Kylo Ren walking around with stormtroopers, but he's like on a mission. And so like if you're like, can I take my photo with you? The stormtroopers will like yell at you, and he'll be like, I don't have time for this puny outworlder, and he'll like storm by, or he'll like, if we're trying to get a selfie with like the Imperial shuttle thing, he'll be like, he'll come through and stop it.
Is the Imperial shuttle there?
I heard it's not Kylo Ren's fighter. I heard it was Maybe I shouldn't share it. I'm going to share it anyway. I heard it was a ship that they designed for Colin Trevorrow's Episode 9 that didn't get used, and then they just like, well, let's put it in Galaxy's Edge.
Oh, really?
So, but it's cool. I mean, it fits. They have an X-wing in there, a life-size X-wing.
Do they ever play the Star Wars music or no?
No. The only music they play is in the cantina. They play the. And the guy who was sitting at the booth with me, which obviously I get defensive, he's like, why don't they have the damn band in here? Why is the band not in here? Which is something I hear here nightly. And so I like, it got under my skin.
Dude, really? People come in here and be like, why don't you have the...
Why don't you have the band? Yeah, where's the band? And so I said to him, it like just gets me going. I was like, well, I mean, we are in episode 7 and 8 era, and the jazz band was very 70s. I was like, now it's all about DJs. So they got DJ Rex. I hear he's like the Steve Aoki of the Star Wars universe. So they seem to accept that the band is no longer cool, and it's all about DJs when you get to 7, 8, and 9.
So it's like the douchebaggiest version of Star Wars, where like Kylo Ren is just a dick for like 12 hours.
It's like episode 8.
What else can they see? What's the high-end merchandise you could buy?
I didn't get into that room. It was an hour wait.
I hear
But
there's
it's-
R2-D2 that's very expensive.
They have a real R2-D2. They've got. I saw somebody posting on Facebook that you can buy the Yoda lamp that like R2-D2 tries to steal in Empire Strikes Back.
What, that little light?
The little light, yeah.
It was like, mine.
Mm-hmm.
I want that.
For $1,000.
I never know how much I wanted that until he just told me I could buy that. Fuck.
So you could buy a droid at the droid shop and then buy the lamp and then have the droid steal the lamp and you're
We
like,
can reenact
I'm
the
like
scene.
Luke.
They're building now. There's one that they're going to open in Florida. They haven't opened one there yet, but the one they open in Florida is supposed to also have.
Damn. Why you hate Florida so much? I mean, other than the 9 other reasons you should hate Florida.
Besides the obvious, Florida is the worst.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fair.
but we're not here to lower things. We're here to raise things
I can
up that we
can
love.
tell you why.
And right now,
Florida
let me finish my
isn't-
thought. That theme park is going to be like this theme park, but instead they're also going to have a resort part to it where if you're in the hotel, there are no windows. All the windows are video screens that just show fucking space and fights and shit. And it won't be this shit where you look around, you're like, oh, that motherfucker's wearing an Avengers t-shirt. I'm out of the fucking game and shit. Everyone who comes in has to wear these clothing. So it's a completely immersive experience.
My friend,
That sounds fucking amazing.
I bumped into my friend.
Amazing or tyrannical. Like, we built a prison for you that you can't even see the outside world. Wear these fucking clothes, speak this dumbass language that nobody will speak in the rest of the world, and spend all your fucking money.
It
Welcome
honestly
to Disney.
signed me up.
Yeah.
Like sounds like a dream. If that's prison, I'm in.
I like it when they're that direct about it as well.
One of my friends was on the team that came up with all the story for Galaxy's Edge, and he was like, "This is really cool." He wanted to be there opening day and see people's faces, and he was like, "Just wait until you see Florida, like the hotel in Florida.
It's
just
supposed
wait."
to be astounding, yeah.
I mean, if you don't have to see actual Florida, then I guess that's a good thing.
I mean, Orlando isn't really actual Florida.
It's true.
True. The rest is so much worse.
So your recommendation, Galaxy's Edge?
I would say, well, also, I think at the end of August, there's the ride, the Flight of the Resistance ride, which is 28 minutes long, and I guess it's 4 different rides. Like, you get on a ride, and you get, like, some sort of storyline, and then you have to get off the ride, and you go through, like, a tunnel or some themed thing, and then you get on another ride that takes you to another ride that takes you to another ride.
Where's this?
This will be at Galaxy's Edge at the end of the summer. It's not open yet.
So there's another ride.
There's another
besides
ride coming in. But I would say it was very cool when it wasn't overcrowded.
Yes.
I would say like wait till a Tuesday in September when kids are in school. The new ride is out. Everybody here is an adult. Just play hooky from work. I'm sick. Show up at Tuesday at 8 a.m. and go through the whole thing. Because it is, I mean, it's as close as you will ever get to being in Star Wars.
That's
enough.
the fucking commercial for it right there, man. I mean, you can't put it better than that. There it is, man. When do you think you're going to go?
I'm thinking about some Tuesday in September. That sounds about right to me.
Sounds like the tip.
And also,
right
I gotta
now,
get-
we couldn't even go if we wanted to, right? You got to have
You
reservations.
need the reservations until June 24th.
And then it opens to the general public. I'm probably waiting until the fall, man, if you could believe that shit. Unless, like, you know, I make a phone call and be like, hey. Silent Bob's calling.
And then I make a call. It's like, hey, Kev called you. He's got a friend.
It's awesome. Everybody should go. It's very, very neat.
I'm gonna have to get like a third job to pay for my one trip to Galaxy's Edge. I'll do it, but
Well, you need a lightsaber, a droid, $7 jerky. Yeah, it's like $1,000 a day without the hotel.
excellent.
There it is. Give it up for JC and his review of Galaxy's Edge. Well done, Captain. All right, we got some show to do.
We got some news to talk
We
about.
got some news. Mr. Marc Bernardin is an old news hound, ladies and gentlemen, but he's so good at fucking sniffing out news. We send him loose on the internet, and he pulls up the news that others found for us. Give it up for Marc Bernardin. He found some news. In the news.
Give him the news. This is pretty cool, and it's cool because it almost never happens, and it should happen way more often. Ava DuVernay is making a new Gods film.
Yes,
For
she
Warner
was
Brothers.
rumored to, yeah.
She has brought on a co-writer to help her write the script, and that co-writer is Tom King, who wrote the Mr. Miracle book with
The Batman writer.
the Batman writer. She got an actual comic book writer to help her write her comic book
And
movie.
he did work on Mr. Miracle, so he knows
did.
a thing or two about the new gods.
And I think they're leaning heavily on that Mr. Miracle Big Barter relationship that's in that book. So she was like, well, why the fuck would I go anyplace else when I could go to the guy who did this really well not that long ago? And so they are co-writing the script together, which
That's
I think is
pretty-
fucking awesome.
Really sweet, man. That's awesome. And nice to bring comics talent into the world, too. And smart to be like,
Yeah.
I bet you he knows more about these characters than I do.
You
That's a
know,
good call.
like, because again, comic book writers live with these characters week in, week out. They've written these characters more than anybody will ever write these characters. They've gone down all the fucking cul-de-sacs with no story there. They've made all the mistakes and learned from them. And even if you're being totally mercenary, by hiring the comic book guy to be your co-writer, that gives you protection when the nerds come for you if you don't do the right things. Like,
Yes.
I got the guy. What else was I supposed to do? I got the guy who does this shit.
Smart. She got an alibi now.
She's got an alibi. It was him. He did that. He did the thing.
That's good. Did they give any sort of date when this is happening?
No, they haven't dated it yet because they're still. DC is at the point where they don't have to start like cherry picking release dates the way Marvel used to have to.
Right.
Where it's like, we got this plan. We need it out in May. We need it out in November because we got to build 7 movies down the road to do this thing. DC seems to be a little bit more, not like from the hip because that's the wrong word, but they can do it when they're ready to do it. Like they don't have to satisfy some release date math to make it work. It's like, we'll make New Gods when we're ready to make New Gods. If it takes us a year to do the script, it'll take us a year to do the script, and then we'll get there and we'll be ready. So there's no date yet for release.
Speaking of no date for release, and I know this is completely unrelated, but before I forget, did you see on the internet this week that picture of Scarlett Johansson dressed as Black Widow with red hair from a long time ago? They are making Black Widow right now.
Yeah.
Isn't that fucked up? Like, they didn't announce we're in production. They're just quietly off shooting a Black Widow movie, the fucking sneaks. Never told us nothing. All of a sudden, they're like in Norway or some shit, and it's underway. Now, she got red hair, so that's certainly
In the
not the
past.
one from Endgame. It looks like it's a movie set in the past, but we were just talking about last week, like, what are they doing next?
Yeah.
There's one of them right there.
Yep.
Exciting as fuck.
Very exciting. Speaking of Marvel and the Russos, which we weren't, but sure, they just signed on to adapt Magic the Gathering
Yes.
for
I
Netflix.
saw that. Just when you thought like that couldn't get any more mainstream, like that game has really traveled deep into the culture, and now it's going to go even deeper once it's on Netflix. My God, the exposure that they'll have—that's crazy. Yeah. And they're with two of the best storytellers of our time.
Were you ever a Magic the Gathering player?
Just somebody that made fun of it a lot. No, I didn't play it. We sold it at the Secret Stash back in the early days of the Secret Stash, so I was always kind of fascinated by it.
D&D was my fix in that realm. I never did the card thing. I had a bunch of friends who did and swore by it, but I too was like, but I got dice, man. That's all I need to buy. I don't need like 19 shoeboxes filled with cards. I'm going to save that for heroin.
Well, now you're fucking sorry you didn't get 19 shoeboxes filled with cards.
I am very
Your finger
sorry.
would be on the goddamn pulse. Yeah, they're looks like that's their first post Endgame commitment. No, I mean other than their big studio, like they've got
Right.
a studio thing they're doing, right?
Yeah,
That
Agbo.
Marcus and McFeely were going to work at.
Yeah, Agbo is their big studio. They got something like $300 million in credit, so they can be their own actual studio and finance shit. And the only other TV they've done so far is Deadly Class for Sci-Fi.
Right.
The Russos produced.
Oh, that's true. Yes, and I did that screening. I hosted the screening.
Yeah, but this will be animated. This will be on Netflix. They similarly don't have a date for it because animation can take forever. But yeah, that's super cool.
Very cool. Good for them. Good for people that like magic and shit. And where is it going to be? On Netflix?
The Netflixes.
Jesus,
in
man, they have
association with
everything,
Hasbro.
don't they? Well, for the next few months, they have everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to start to hear a lot of Netflix acquisitions and productions and announcements because they are looking down the pike towards 2020, maybe even the end of 2019, when Disney Plus starts and all the Disney shit disappears from Netflix.
That's true.
And then when Warner Brothers starts their streaming network, all of the Warner Brothers shit will disappear from Netflix. And then Universal will have a streaming network, and the Paramount will, I guess. And then Netflix will be faced with a landscape in which they can't license anything anymore. Aside from some of the smaller things, there's always going to be Lionsgate, there's always going to be, those sort of like ancillary studios, but the big ones are all going to be on their own homes. So they have to produce a
They've
lot.
got to create their own IP.
They gotta
They've
create their
make
own
a bunch
IP.
of stuff of their own to sell.
Yeah, which is what goes behind them signing like filmmakers and TV producers to like massive overall deals. Like, hey, Mark Millar, bring us everything you've ever done. We will happily be in the Mark Millar universe business.
Fuck, I got a universe. I'll sell them cheap. They're not desperate enough, man. Nobody called me yet from Netflix, so I'm sure they're not desperate enough. You'll know that they're fucking desperate when they're like, you got any ideas? Yeah, oh fuck yes. True North trilogy, click. There's a rumor that Keanu Reeves will be in the Eternals.
That's kind of cool.
That would be dope. That's all we got.
That's about it.
But I heard that rumor as well. That'd be cool. I also heard a version of the rumor where he wasn't in the Eternals, that they were thinking about him for Doctor Doom, which I was like, that would be fucking amazing, man. I'll be honest with you. I'm on board with the Eternals movie, but it didn't get my blood pumping when they first announced it. That being said, when they first announced Guardians of the Galaxy, I was like, what are they? They're fucking minds? Why would anybody? Then I saw it and was like, zip.
Ooh.
So I ain't going to prejudge Eternals, but it's definitely not something that I was like, holy shit. I'm definitely more excited for Master of Kung Fu, but
Shang-Chi.
I'll go anywhere that they want to take us. And so if Kevin Feige and co think that there's an interesting enough story in the Eternals to tell that me as a Marvel fan is going to appreciate, that it has some connectability to the stories they've been telling thus far, I'm in. I'll take it.
Speaking of connectability,
Yes.
Quentin Tarantino apparently wants to make an adaptation for the screen of his Django Zorro comic book.
He did a Django Zorro comic?
He did for Dynamite.
Ah.
Yeah. So he hired Gerard Carmichael from the Gerard Carmichael Show, stand-up comedian, actor, to co-write the screenplay for Django Zorro.
Co-write the screenplay? Mm-hmm. Did he write a comic book script?
Yeah, Matt Wagner did it.
Matt Wagner,
Did the comic book.
Quentin wrote the outline, and Matt Wagner wrote the script. Where the fuck have I been? How did I not know this? I love Matt Wagner. How many years ago was this?
Yeah, not that long ago.
Wow. So what? He's saying that like he'd be happy to see them do a cinematic version. He's not going to do it himself, though?
No, he's producing it and co-writing the screenplay with Gerard Carmichael.
That's fucking hot.
Yeah. Which reminded me so much of Blazing Saddles in a weird way, in that Mel Brooks wanted to make a movie about a black sheriff. And was like, you know what I don't know anything about? Mel Brooks said to himself, black people. So he got Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor co-wrote Blazing Saddles with him and was going to star until he not quite blew himself up yet, but like had probably his first beginnings of problems with drugs and couldn't get insured, which is how you get a different guy as Sheriff Bart.
Cleavon Little.
Indeed. So the idea that a film producer, knowing he wants to make this kind of thing, was like, you know what, find me a black comedian to come and get at this and make it funny, make it pop on the screen. Help me out. Help me out, you're my only hope, Gerard Carmichael.
Smart. When can we expect this?
That is another thing that is like, Quentin is committed to it, but there is no yet date for it. It's just, it has been announced as a thing that looks like could happen.
Interesting.
Which is kind of cool, because I'm all about worlds colliding. And if you give me a Zorro movie that also has Django in it, fuck yes.
I'm in. What else you got?
That's it, brother.
You're out of news?
That's it for the week.
How about Moon Knight?
Something happened with Moon Knight?
Do you know something about Moon Knight? Who said?
It's out there.
The interweb? This isn't just you going like, I want him there. I mean, we all do, but did you hear something? Like they've talked about perhaps that's about to happen? Really? I haven't heard anything about it.
Me neither.
Venom and Spider-Man 3, I've heard that Sony's interested in pushing that narrative for the next Spider-Man movie to include Venom and cross him over. I mean, look, he fucking certainly proved he's got an audience, am I correct?
Yeah.
So, I'm not necessarily against that. I'd be for it. I also saw an image of Wonder Woman 84. The licensing show is going on in town right now. Not here in Vegas. Licensing show is apparently you go there and it's like every license that's available for purchase and pushing and stuff like that. So like, Coca-Cola has a stand and you could go license Coca-Cola, put it on a shirt, make an action figure, whatever the fuck. Pez, motherfucking Peeps, all the pea candies. And one of the things that's there is Wonder Woman 84. And there's a poster of Wonder Woman 84 that's up. And the suit that she's wearing looks a lot more like the Linda Carter Wonder Woman outfit. So I saw the picture. The colors are much more vibrant. They're saying they're not treating this like a sequel. It's just a completely different era of her life. But it's some of the first artwork that's been out there in the world. The logo looked very fucking cool, but her outfit was noticeably more colorful, more 80s, for lack of a better description. So that looked very, very exciting.
I hope they come up with an in-story reason for her to have to twirl around to change into her suit.
Oh.
I don't care what it is. I just want spinning Wonder Women.
They're not done. You should pitch that hard, man. Hopefully that gets back to them. All right, so that's all the news we got?
That's all the news that's
Ladies and gentlemen, man, fucking Mark found you the news. Give it up for Marc Bernardin. Now we arrive at the second part of our show, which is the third part tonight. Really, actually, it's the third part of our show always. We come to the other part of the show, ladies and gentlemen, the part where we turn it over to you, the audience, the Q&A part. We've got prizes to give away, as always. What we do is ask JC to pick 3 out of the audience. You ask a question. It's got to be a question that both Mark and I can answer and stuff, something that can create a little bit of conversation. If your question is deemed worthy enough, you're going to win a couple of cool prizes here, man. You're going to win this sweet-ass poster commemorating tonight's show of Fatman Beyond by our very own Nate Gonzalez over there. This poster is signed by me and Mark and Nate, and so 3 people who win are going to be getting one of those. If you want one of these and you don't win one of these, you can find Nate after the show. He's usually over there by the bar.
Or the Dark Nate Returns on the internet.
Dark Nate Returns. What is the website? Dark Nate Returns
at
bigcartel.com.
.bigcartel.com. That's for the home viewers. A lot of people always see the artwork like, ooh, where can we buy those posters? There it is. The other winner, the other thing that folks are going to win of course, thanks to our good friend Deacon and our good friends at 4DX, are 2 tickets to the 4DX cinema experience. You can redeem these here in town down at
LA Live.
LA Live. If you've not seen a movie in 4DX, the chair comes to life and practically fucks you. I can't give you a better advertisement for this than that. It's an astounding experience, which I imagine if you went to see Godzilla in would just be, you'd be shaken to the point of just you'd come. That's how they'd shake you up so much. So it's definitely worth checking out if it's playing there. So you're going to win a poster. You're going to win a pair of tickets to 4DX. At this point, we turn it over to JC to pick some folks from the audience, pick us some winners. Before we go anywhere else, though, this says, please sign the back of these 2 sticker sheets and give away the rest. And these stickers are fucking adorable.
Aw.
Look. It's stickers of me and Mark for Fatman Beyond. Who did this? You did this? Come here real quick. Come right here. What's your name, young shaver? Turn around, tell them.
Miles Ritchie.
Miles, this is gorgeous. Why did you do this? It looks expensive.
He paid for it.
You paid for it? Right the fuck on, man. So we get to give these out? Please do, yeah. Everybody at the end of the night as you head out, man, there's 2 piles. Make sure you take some stickers by Miles.
Aw.
Great fucking job, man. This is beautiful.
Thank you.
Also, if you could sign these as well, I'd really appreciate it.
He wants
Totes.
you to tag. There's a pile here.
You got it.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy, everyone.
Thank you, man. Give it up for Miles. That's awesome. He brought stuff. Okay, what's your name, young shaver?
My name is Greg.
Greg? Greg?
Yes.
Everyone give it up for Greg.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, I've been following your career for quite a while, both of you guys.
Thank you.
But I really appreciate actually being here. My unique situation kind of lends itself to here. Technically I'm a filmmaker, but a writer. I started off when I came out here, and I happened to work in the industry for a little bit. Me and my co-writer Lee Anthony wrote a movie called War with Jet Li and Jason Statham. Eventually,
Fuck.
yeah.
Well done, man. Like,
Hey.
fuck.
So eventually, though, when we had an idea to pitch, which was I grew up on the Universal monster movies, Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman, and I'm also a big film noir buff. And so the idea was, and of course one of my favorite classic comedies was Abbott and Costello Meets Frankenstein. So I thought this would be kind of cool to be able to mix the genre together and kind of pitch a film noir monster movie and shot entirely in black and white. Well, the thing is, nobody in the studios that we tried to shop it to, or even our agents or a manager at the time, didn't want to have anything to do with it because nobody wanted to do anything that was period. Nobody wanted to do anything that was black and white. And the name of the movie is called Noir, and nobody wanted to have, the name on top of what they didn't want to do. So eventually, we end up deciding to go almost on our own because they were trying to classify us as just screenwriters, but we love movies. We wanted to be filmmakers, and we just decided it's about time that we start doing that. So we kind of walked away to do our own thing. So anyway, I was listening to something you were saying a while back about finding your own voice and just doing the things that you love to do. I put on the table the movie. We're in our 3rd Indiegogo, Noir. And we want to also tell long-form storytelling, that's kind of, exactly, there it is. So it's Noir the film, and it's Indiegogo, which will end on June 14. And we have a cool trailer that's up. But my question to both of you guys is, we screened the film at our studio, and it's a longer-form storytelling that kind of they don't do anymore because a lot of things are cut. Everything is about shortening, get you in and out. But once the group that we send it to have taken a look at it, once they got to the end, they kind of really liked it a lot. And what I want to ask you guys is that, but most people keep saying, oh, nobody wants to see a long 2.5 hours, almost 3-hour movie, shorten it. So we tried to take scenes out, but it didn't feel right. It felt better with everything that we had. So was there a moment for you guys, Mark, if something that you've written that that voice in your head just felt like it's right, and Kevin, even when you're editing, was there a moment where people are telling you one thing, but your gut is actually telling you something else? How do you block out the noise and listen to that?
I'll go first just because I'm just at the end of editing the flick, so I went through something like that. My instincts are always to make it as short as possible. So for me, it's, I learned a long time ago that, like, on Mallrats, first cut of the movie we had was 2 hours and 15 minutes. It was 1995, and I was like, comedy could work at 2 hours and 15 minutes, and we had a test screening. It did not fucking work at all. So I learned pretty early on, like, fucking, especially if you're trying to make things funny, which I guess this speaks more to that. Like, some things deserve to be fucking long. Comedy always deserves to be tight. On Reboot, I got it to a cut length and first cut and announced what it was, and then was like, and now I'm gonna take it down further. And then I got hit with a bunch of, like, don't fucking touch it. Like, why would you cut it? We want to see every fucking second of it, which I understand the logic of it. Who's going to see this but fucking fans? So they would love to see as much of it as possible. But ultimately, for me, I got to serve the story. And the story tells you what it needs to be. Even if there's things you fucking love in it, the story always lets me know this can go. It reveals itself. And nobody asked me to keep cutting this movie, but every time I watched it, I was like, you know what? That line doesn't need to be here. This is how I went about it. And this is just talking about the editing, and I'll try to get back on track with your question. But I remember when I went to see like movies where I'm like, oh shit, this is it. Like, I'll use an example, but I didn't use that while I was cutting. When I was watching the last episode of Game of Thrones, every 2-4 minutes or something, I kept gut checking and checking the time going, this is the very last episode of Game of Thrones. Are they sure they want to do this? Like, are they sure they want to say this line? Like, they don't get to do this again next week. The beauty of that show, or any show, is like, while it's up and running, you got another chance to bite people back if you lose them on some shit in one episode. But this was it. So I've looked at movies like that too, where I'm like, this is it. This is like Justice League went through that filter for me. And I'm not here to put it down, but when I watched it, every step of the way I kept going like, this is like the first time they made a Justice League movie and they thought that line counted? Like, you know what I'm saying? So, and I ain't shitting on it. That's just how I viewed it through that process and took it into my own work. So what I've done is I cut the movie and I play it at the house all the time. People come over and watch it. Sometimes I'll sit in the back and watch it with them. But what I've taken to do lately is sitting down one floor where I can't see the movie at all, and all I can do is hear it and hear the audience. And so I ask myself with every single fucking line, you haven't made a View Askew movie in fucking 12 years or more, like since Clerks 2, so 13 years. So there are going to be people hitting seats on this, judging it harshly, going like, he hasn't made a Jay and Silent Bob movie in 18 fucking years. That's how he's going to start it? This is what he's going to do? So as I go through it and as it plays, I just keep listening and put it through that filter and still wind up with shit to cut where I'm like, you know what? I waited fucking this many years to do this movie. That line doesn't make it. It don't count. Out it fucking goes. So that's my process. But that should still apply to you. I let the thing tell me how long it should be. If you feel the thing should be what it should be, there's your answer. You know what I'm saying? Now, That comes with a cost, right? Like, it'll be a bunch of people going, fuck, man, that's long, or fuck, can't you do it shorter, or fuck. But if that's what you feel it is, that's what it is. Now, that's what you feel it is in script form as well, right? Like, you haven't shot the thing.
Yeah.
That'll be a different experience, too, once you get it. It's way easy right now to be like, this motherfucker needs to be 3 hours long. Once you got all the footage and see it, then you're like, oh, you know what? We can get out of here a lot fucking quicker.
Oh, yeah, no, we've shot the script for him. It's already edited.
You've shot a script?
Oh, we've already shot it.
And the movie is?
So the movie clocks in probably around 2:40, 250, 240, 250.
And you feel it's all fucking inherent.
For 1 year, we edit, and then we kept bringing group of people in after a time. We've taken scenes out. Some scenes stayed out, but then scenes put back in because, story-wise, I just feel like so many times people have to assume that a movie has to be under 2 hours, and that should apply to everything. And what was ironic is when Avengers came out,
Yeah, they didn't feel that at
Endgame
all.
came out, it was 3 hours long, then, I could go and say, hey, Avengers, of course people come back and say, well, you're not the Avengers. So,
But it's not even like you're not the Avengers.
Right.
It's like their recipe was, we're going to fucking make people
Yeah.
want this for 10 fucking years.
Right.
So that by the time we get to our last episode, they probably weren't thinking at the beginning, I hope we end with a 3-hour movie.
Right.
But they knew by the time they got there, they're like, fuck, it's 3 hours. But they're like, you know what? They'll watch every fucking second of it because they want every second of it.
and I think that's been the struggle. It's been 5 years in the making. We're this close to finishing up this year. But there is that moment when your brain, you're like trying to figure out, am I sure? But every time I see that, it's like, I love this movie. I love the length of the film.
Then for me, die on the sword of what you feel it is. One of two things is going to happen. It's all upside, the way I see it. Number one, if you're right, bang, you were right. Number two, if you're wrong, you're going to learn that you were wrong, and that's an insanely valuable lesson. So go with the fucking gut on this one. But then, if it doesn't pan out the way you want, that's the lesson is perhaps long is not the form, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But either way, you're following your gut. And the result you have no control over anyway,
Right.
period. So since you have no control over the result, why not make the one that you're happy with? So at the end of the day, even if everyone hates it, nobody sees it, you fucking love it. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
you can guarantee pleasing one member of the audience, and that's you. Might as well go for it. And then, if there's a lesson to be learned, you will learn it. And if there's a reward to be reaped, you're going to reap it. So I say go with your instinct. The story telling you to be that it wants to be that, honor it.
I will differ a little bit in that I agree that the story will tell you what it wants to be. The story will, as you make it, as you edit it, as you test it, as you show it to people, the more you live with it, the more it will reveal itself to you. But there is also, in the same way that Kevin said, comedies are short. They almost always are. Like it's all about timing, it's all about pace, it's all about rhythm, and it's all about getting to the next laugh as soon as you can get to the next laugh. And there are no 2.5 hour long comedies. There just aren't. They don't work that way. There is a mode that a genre requires to a certain degree that there's deviations from it. Sure, there are 3-hour Westerns. Most Westerns are not 3 hours because it's pulp, it's adventure. It's like, get me in, shoot some shit, find the girls, kill the bad guy, get me out, everybody wins. There's ways to embellish that, there's ways to enhance that and elevate that, but the genre is what it is. Noir began as pulp. It began as like a detective shit. It began as horror stuff. It began as genre. And genre, more often than not, is asking for propulsion. It's asking for acceleration. It's asking for momentum. And that kind of momentum also embellishes and feels like it asks to be fast, right? Like it asks for a certain amount of pace. And independent of seeing your movie, and your movie might be fantastic, but ask yourself how many 3-hour-long noir movies you see. And the answer is probably not very many. And that's not to say that every one of those 2 hours and 45 minutes isn't brilliant and isn't wonderful and isn't having worth produced, but the marketplace often dictates the kind of thing that it wants. One of my favorite movies of all time is Aliens. It is literally, like, to me, a perfect movie. And the version that I'm most familiar with is the theatrical release, because that's the one that first came on VHS. That's the first one that, when you inhale that movie in cable and in the world, that's what you see. And then you get like the director's cut, which has like another 40 minutes in it. And I love the director's cut, but I understand why they cut everything that they cut out of the director's cut. Like, I like having it. I like having the turrets in the hallways. I like having, the first, like, here's a domestic scene on Hadley's Hope, and here's the kid, and here's why Newt is so good at making her way through the tunnels. But you don't need it. Like, the movie is brilliant without it. I like having it, but I don't need it. And I think it's when you get to that point in your movie where you're staring down the barrel of 245, 250, it becomes merciless. It becomes kill your darlings. It becomes, I love this scene. Does it get me to the next scene in such a way that I have to have it? And if there's a way to make it that I don't have to have it, then it becomes, am I fighting for a thing simply because I love it or because the movie's asking for it? And I think if the answer is the movie's asking for it, you leave it. If it's because you love it, then that's not, to me, enough of a reason to keep it. And I've first drafts of everything that I've ever written have been too long, about like 15 pages. And it becomes a process of just mercilessly looking at everything and saying, does this earn the time that it's on the page? Will this earn the time it's on the stage? You know, does it move better, leaner? And the answer is almost always yes. And then there's a point where you say, I can't cut anymore, because now it's the heart of what it is. And that point is always it's a movable feast for every storyteller. And you just have to figure out for yourself, does it need it or do I love it? And love isn't always the best defense for leaving it in there.
Helps to throw it up in front of people too. Like honestly, like get it to the place where you're like, this is the movie, and then get it in front of 50 people.
I will be more than happy to invite you guys to come to our studio at Quest and actually get a private screening of it, because I would value your
Pack it with bodies, though. It don't need to be just the two of us. Like,
Yeah.
Get 50 people in there because you get 50 different opinions.
Right.
And you also, more importantly, you'll hear the room while it's playing.
Mhm.
That's always a big factor and stuff.
Cool.
Again, mine's comedy, so it really doesn't have as much relevance. But there was something in the Brody section of Jay and Silent Bob Reboot that I absolutely loved and swore would be there into the final cut, where he talked about his daughter, because it's a joke I've always wanted to make. His name was Brody Bruce, so he named his daughter Banner Bruce. And so it had been around since I wanted to do Mallrats 2. So I included like a good one-page dialogue bit where Brody went into his life. Like, you know, when Jay and Silent Bob encounter him in Reboot, he's at his store, and we did like a 1-minute kind of update on his world, and I fucking loved it. But just because I loved it wasn't enough to keep it. Like, it was a kind of aside from the main story. The story is the boys, and we got to thrust forward and get to the mission and shit. So I had to let it go, and I kept it in as long as I fucking could, until the point where nobody asked me to take it out, but I just realized this is such a diversion. It creates far more questions than it fucking entertains or anything like that. And while we head into the real pertinent information in a minute and a half, people are still going to be stuck on some new shit that I just threw in there because I really loved it, and that doesn't serve the story. So put it up in front of people.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. I would love to get a picture with you guys at some point.
Yes, but first you get a fucking poster for tickets, man. Well done. Goddamn pleasure. Thank you. JC, we got another a victim, as they say. It's a lady. What's your name?
It's not a victim.
I know. What's your name?
My name is Tessa.
Everyone give it up for Tessa.
Tessa. She also doesn't like Florida, so yay, Tessa.
Oh, were you the anti-Florida lady?
Yes. So you guys usually film every Tuesday. My birthday is exactly a week from today. You are not filming on the 11th. No. So I'm here today. My question is, I will turn 29 next Tuesday.
Happy birthday, a week in advance.
Thank you. And it's kind of a two-part question. One is, what is something you're really happy you accomplished before 30, and what is you wish you accomplished by 30? Because this birthday, even as a millennial, we're all hitting things a little bit later: marriage, children, buying houses, paying off our student loans. I mean, it's all a little bit later.
I hear you fuckers will never be able to buy a house, they tell me.
But I feel like 29, it's hitting me a
You're
little
just going to
harder.
roll right over that?
Yeah.
That's a real big issue, man. Anyway, back to you. Sorry, it's your question.
I have a decent full-time job. I work for the government. I work for child support. So if you hate me, I'm sorry. But I mean, it's hitting me a little harder. It's my last year in my 20s, and I feel like what do you are super glad that you accomplished by then, and what do you wish you had accomplished by 30? Just so I kind of know what to experience from.
I mean,
I
don't
don't
talk
wanna
to this
say-
motherfucker. He was in
I don't wanna-
Sundance before he was 30.
I know, and I don't want to say like the older generation, but I know you're a little bit older than me.
I
So
am.
like, what are you happy that you accomplished, and what do you wish you would have accomplished?
I am very happy, as Mark kind of referenced, that like all that shit. My career started when I was technically 23.
Yeah.
Was I? Yeah, I was 23, and it was Sundance of '94, so I'd be 24 at the end of that year. So yeah, I was 23 years old, and it was not just my career; it was a fucking dream come true. And each movie led to the next and stuff. So naturally, I'm very happy that happened in my 20s, because like what would I have been doing in my 20s if that wasn't going on? That shaped most of my life. I was having a discussion with somebody the other day where I was talking about how it's kind of, I don't regret it, and I'm not like, this isn't bittersweet or anything, but I only lived like about 23 years of a normal existence, and then it's been 25 years of this existence. And we were talking about the early movies, like why Clerks and Mallrats and Chasing Amy and Dogma hit hard and worked very well. I was like, because they were made by a real person. That was made by a real live boy who had thoughts and feelings, and some of that shit was like close to things he did. He worked at a convenience store. He did go to the mall. He was in a relationship with a girl, like kind of like Chasing Amy. He was Catholic. He never met a shit monster, but he was a altar boy. That came from real life. The moment Clerks happens, it gets picked up by Miramax, I stopped living a real life and start living a dream life of make-believe, where it's just like, ooh, you want to make pretend? Let's do it until you're fucking dead. And so that's unrealistic. And from that can only come artifice. So from now until the end of time, anything I do is not going to be as authentic as everything I did in the beginning. And those movies are informed by 23 years of a normal existence, you know, and then I stopped leading a normal existence, and so the fifth movie is what? It's a movie about making movies, because that's what I do at that point. That's all I fucking know. So, you know, I'm glad I made those movies when I did, and not because, like, you know, I started my career at an early age. That was fucking nice. But that was when everything was urgent. That was when I was unhappy, and not like constantly unhappy and shit like that, but I was restless. Maybe unhappy is not the word. Restless. That was, you know, that was when I was at a place where I wasn't peaceful in life, and not peaceful meaning like I beat people up and shit, but like there was a yearning. I was a Bruce Springsteen song come to life. I gotta get the fuck out of here, but I didn't want to really leave. I just wanted to start my fucking life and say something and blah blah blah. So I got to say something, and I said it all in a fury right away, one after the fucking other and shit. And then all of a sudden I ran out of shit to say because I ran out of real life. I exhausted everything. Everything that I'd ingested for 23 years went into Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, and Dogma. So by the time you get to Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, it's literally a guy going, I made 4 movies. I'm going to talk about them in the 5th, you know, because I ran out of fucking real life shit to say. Now, some people are like, why can't you do another Chasing Amy? That's because Chasing Amy came from a painful place. That was not a happy person that made that. Happy people don't necessarily make great art. It's just that simple. I'm in a much happier place. So when people are like, make another Chasing Amy, essentially that's saying, rip your life apart, tear your heart apart, go back to misery, go back to that hurtful feeling, go back to like not knowing if you were gonna fucking like, and this is just being dramatic, but like wanting to go to sleep and never fucking wake up because your heart was torn asunder. That's where Chasing Amy comes from, and that's why people connect to it, because people always feel that at a certain point. But I ain't felt anything like that in fucking 20 years. In order for me to make a Chasing Amy, I'd probably have to get divorced. My wife would have to be like, I'm fucking through with you and shit. Then I'd have some pain, and then I'd have some shit to express. But I don't really have something that meaty to offer you, because shit really worked out for me. So what am I supposed to say? You know what I'm saying? What am I supposed to say that most people can relate to on the level that they related to my first 4 films? So that's where I have to actually change and become a filmmaker. In the first 4 films, I was more of a vlogger or a blogger as a fucking filmmaker. I wasn't making shit up. I just took from my real life. Then I ran out of real life, and then at a certain point, I started making shit up. You know, that's how you get to like Tusk and Yoga Hosers. And people don't really like my sense of imagination whatsoever. They liked when I used to steal from real life and stuff. So it's tough to explain to people like how it works and the path of like your life as an artist and what you ingested before it all began and shit like that. But I'm glad that shit happened in my 20s. Like if the best work that came out of me happened in my 20s, I'm glad, because that represents the boy that started this journey. The kid that sat there in his bedroom in New Jersey behind a counter in a convenience store and dreamed of this. That's what he wanted more than anything else. And he sacrificed his life and his heart and everything he felt and his relationship. Like chasing Amy was like, we don't get to make that movie unless we sacrifice our relationship on the altar of making that fucking movie. Like that kid was willing to like give it all for art, to say what he needed to fucking say. And because he did, he was rewarded with a life that doesn't allow him to say that kind of shit anymore. It's kind of bittersweet, I guess, but the money makes it easy. So I feel like I'm glad it happened then, because I was at my most authentic then. That was the realest version of me. Now y'all get a diluted version of an entertainer, somebody who turns on a version of Kevin Smith to go out, and it's still very much me, but at the same time, it's heightened. Go back and watch like The Evening with Kevin Smith. I'm not the person I am today. I talk very much down here, and I'm not really thinking about delivery or anything like that. And then the older I get, the more I'm like, well, people paid money to be here. You better be entertaining. Move your hands a lot and shit like that. So I'm glad that happened in my 20s. The other thing I'll throw in is I'm glad I had a kid by the time I was 29, because my kid is now about to turn 20 this month. And I'm not like a decrepit old man hanging out with my kid. Like the other day I was driving around with my kid, she was driving the car and shit like that, and I was fucking plugging in my iPod and playing songs, and fucking we were relating and shit, and it wasn't like, you know, take me to the senior citizens palace, you know. It was like, I wasn't gonna say like I felt young, but I felt like, oh, I got to enjoy her while I'm still relatively young, before I hit, you know, true middle age, or I guess I am at middle age. I don't know, have a kid young, that's what I know that's not real fashionable and shit, because everyone wants to play and fuck around, but like, it worked out. Like, I'm glad that I had a kid at 29. You?
Okay, so the thing I'm most proudest of before 30, and the thing that I regret not having done before 30. Okay, same story. When I was 19 years old, I was a junior in college. There was a writing for television competition at St. John's University, where I went. And to enter this thing, you had to write a pilot. You had to write an episode of a TV show that was on the air that you loved. And you sent it to Hollywood. It was sponsored by Paramount and Ubu Productions. Sit, Ubu, sit.
Oh my God, good dog.
Good dog. So I'm like, fuck it. The only show that I watch on TV is Star Trek The Next Generation. So I'm going to write a Star Trek episode, because why would I fucking not? I don't know any other characters on any other show well enough to do that. So I went in my little fucking like IBM Selectric, because this was still before like actual computers, because I'm old, thank you. And wrote like 45 pages of an episode of Star Trek. Where they brought Khan back to the Enterprise.
Yeah.
Because I'm a fucking nerd, of course that's what I'm gonna do. And I sent it off just into the wild, because that's what you do, you expect nothing. And then like 3 months later, I get a letter saying that I won this competition, which was fucking bananas. You won the competition, the grand prize was, we're gonna give you a $3,000 stipend to spend a month and a half in Los Angeles working for Ubu Productions. They were then in production on a show called Brooklyn Bridge.
Oh shit, yeah. Dave, what's his name? David Goldberg show.
Yeah, and a second show to be determined later. So I'm like, all right, fuck, I'm 19 years old. They're sending me to Los Angeles for a summer before my senior year. This is amazing. I can't believe this is happening to me. I moved to LA by myself at 19, living on Hollywood Boulevard in some like Oakwoods apartments, which doesn't even exist anymore. Should not have been living on Hollywood Boulevard at 19 years old. I didn't have a car. I couldn't really drive out here because I didn't have money to rent a car. I couldn't drink. I drank, but I wasn't supposed to. But every day, I got a bicycle and I rode my bike down Gower to the lot and lived the dream for a summer. The show that was to be determined ended up being Star Trek The Next Generation. It was the summer they were shooting the pilot for Deep Space Nine. So I got to not just like read scripts for season 5 of Next Gen, but it was, we're making a new Star Trek show, the first real spin-off of this thing, and we're starting to just like field scripts and ideas, and you got to read scripts, and you got to sit in on pitches, and it was amazing. It was the most instructive like summer I have ever had. Just getting to see how you make TV from the inside and get to talk to people who do it for a living. My biggest regret is that I did not stay in Los Angeles. Like, I went back home because my dad was like, "You're not graduating from fucking college." I didn't come all the way from a country you can't even speak the language of to not go to fucking college. It wasn't even a discussion.
Your dad came from France?
Kinda. But so I went back, I got my college degree, I finished my education, I took an internship at Starlog magazine, which doesn't exist because magazines don't exist. Starlog and
Still
Fangoria.
pretty fucking cool.
It's not bad.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Fangoria is back from the dead. I also worked for Fangoria. And then started a career as a magazine journalist. But if I'd stayed, I would not have had to break into television 20 years later. Like, I would have been in. I would have gotten a job on Star Trek. That would have been it. I might never have graduated from college, and that might have been fine, but I would have been a working TV writer at 20 years old. And then the life that I have now, I would have had when I was in my 20s, which probably not a good idea, because my 20s, I would have made a mess with this much money. It's fucking nuts. Sorry to be gauche, but they pay us too much fucking money to make shit up. I'll take it. But still, so like, and it's.
Way to lose the audience, Mr. 1%.
Look how much money I have.
Fuck. I was talking about being rich, but I made it poignant and shit like that.
Yes.
You're like, we writers, we're so overpaid.
It's nuts. But I look back on that time, and it's glorious and wonderful, and some of the contacts I made then have still paid off. But I would not have the people in my life that I have now had I not done what I did. Like, I would not have been a journalist for this long. I would not have met all these people along the way. We would not be podcasting if I had not been the person who didn't stay in Los Angeles and instead went back to the East Coast and lived the life that apparently I was supposed to have. So it's a regret only in the like sliding doors serendipity version of regret. It's a thing I've wanted since I was 19 because I tasted it at 19, but it feels better and is worth more having gone the circuitous path that I did to get there. So all I would say is reach for the thing that you want when you can, but don't be bitter when life gives you a different road to follow, because you have no idea what's at the end of that road. And the journey is more important than the destination at the end of the day, although the destination is fucking awesome. So live your life to the best of your ability. Live it as full as you possibly can, because nothing is guaranteed. Tomorrow is a rumor, and live for today and enjoy the fuck out of it. So happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. I realized I came up short. I didn't have a regret.
Do you?
Not really. I mean, I guess I regret nothing business-wise, nothing professional, but I regret maybe not going vegan in my 20s. It really worked out, but I never would have thought to do that back then because the food wouldn't have been edible. Back then, when you were a vegan, you literally ate vegetables. I couldn't live like that. I got to eat something that was a vegetable until it's been crushed into something edible. Yeah, I don't really have a fucking regret. I mean, there used to be a part of me where I was like, oh man, I wish, I'd written the role of Randall in Clerks for me to play. That's why Randall has all the best jokes. And then as we got close to production, I was like, I'm not an actor. Why did I think I could play this role? I can't memorize all this shit. Who wrote this dialogue? And then I was like, well, I'll cast somebody else. That was Jeff Anderson. He crushed it. But I was like, if I'm going to make this movie, I at least want to be in it too. And I realized, Silent Bob doesn't have to memorize any dialogue. And plus, I'm going to be yelling at Jay the whole movie anyway, so I'll stand next to him, and that's how that happened. So as much as I'm like, oh man, if I had played Randall, who knows what kind of career I'd have. I might be an actor today and shit. But, playing Silent Bob, I think went a lot further in some weird fucking way. We didn't intend those characters to become what they became. I've been living off those characters for 25 fucking years. I will probably live off them until the day I fucking die. As long as Jay has breath in his lungs, he could be like, "Snooch to the nooch." We'll be standing on a street corner busking somewhere. So it wasn't the choice. I didn't write it for myself, and I just kind of backed into it. I did choose it as the director and stuff. But, you know, I can't even, like, argue with what happened with that. But, you know, every once in a while, I'm like, fuck, if I had played Randall, we'd be up to, like, Clerks 19 right now. I'd have been in so many versions of the movie.
But yeah, I mean, one thing that I always remind myself is that comparison is the thief of joy. Like
Say it again?
Comparison is the thief of joy. The minute you start to look to the left and to the right and see what that guy has and what that lady does and whatever that is, you're not enjoying the life you have.
So true. So fucking true. And it's hard business to not look over the fence, because sometimes you don't even have to look over the fence. There's a fucking billboard staring at you and shit like that. But it's true. If you just focus on, you know, the fucking meal you're eating, generally you're a much happier camper.
You will mature when you're supposed to mature. We're each of us is a different kind of fruit, and each of us are going to be ripe at a different time. And your time is your time. My time is my time. It took me until 43 before I got to do the thing that I thought I was born to do. That's what it takes. It takes what it takes.
The important thing, though, is you're asking the question. So you're already on the path. That's good. Most people, you know, when they hit 30 aren't asking the question. So well done.
Thank you.
You win a poster and you won tickets. Give it up for her, man. Whoa, birthday girl.
Poster and tickets. Do you not want your birthday present? That's your birthday.
You get the poster and tickets. No, you don't get this shit. You get that shit. Well done. All right, JC, where are we going now that I feel so fucking old?
Hi, guys. How are you?
Hey, what's your name? You got to move over a little bit into the light.
Sorry.
What's your name?
My name is TJ.
Give it up for TJ, everybody.
Hey, TJ!
What does the shirt say? An American Video Store?
American Video Store. Yes, sir. It's a play I wrote and directed that's premiering at the Hollywood Fringe Festival this week.
Oh, it's at the Fringe?
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
So people can see it. It's called An American Video Store.
HollywoodFringe.org to buy tickets. Here's 2 little postcard guys for you. I don't want to take up too much time.
No
You're not
worries.
going.
Let's
It's all
take a
good.
peek.
We
I
know.
just saw the banners for Fringe Fest. For those that don't follow or don't live in Hollywood, Hollywood for a few years now has been doing the Fringe Festival, which is kind of, they do it in Scotland as well, at Edinburgh, I
Yeah,
believe.
it's international. Yep.
Then they brought it over here, and it's a series of people doing plays and...
One acts, musical, solo performances, seminars, all different kinds of things.
I like
350 in Hollywood this
That's
this
great
year.
art. Miles, do you agree? Yeah, Miles. And he knows. Very nice.
Thank you. I mean, I know lots of folks come up here and say you're the reason they came out here and did this stuff. I'm part of that group. I won't bore you with the sentimentality, but that's why
Once
I'm
I
here.
saw the video store, I was like, there's some connection between
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. That's
I was
a
about to
trip.
call my fucking lawyer, I'll tell you what.
RST. Yep. So my question, I'll try and keep this brief. It's a little bit complex, but I'll try and keep it brief. So I'm a studio exec. I sit down and I say, I love Fatman on Batman. You guys have a great chemistry. You're both super talented writers. I want to give you a television show, right? So I want to take advantage of the strengths of both of you. Mark, you did a great job with the show on Hulu, with the Stephen King universe. You found all these unique ways to bring that universe to life, Castle Rock, and I'm sure there was multiple conversations, millions in the writer's room on like what approach to take, because that formula could have had a million different outcomes, but you picked one that seemed to work, right? It got a season 2, you won some awards, critically acclaimed, it did some things right. Kevin, the IP you have has been in comic books and movies and cartoons and video games. It's a rich IP, and it's all about IPs these days, right? So the question is, and it's a little bit complex, I appreciate you being patient with me. Mark, if you guys were to do a View Askew show, right?
Yes.
And I know you've had variations of this, I'm sure, with the Mallrats show and things like that. But the question is, Mark, not like you pitching ideas on View Askew and things like that, but what fundamental foundational things about Castle Rock in terms of bringing a universe to life worked well? And what would you pitch tonally, because obviously it's a shift to the View Askew world from the Stephen King world, but what things would you suggest to Kevin to take on to make that show have an engine that worked as an episodic television show? And then Kevin, based on his suggestions, what would you then apply to your very rich world to make the View Askew television show?
Fuck.
Damn.
All right. Woo! You're up first.
I feel.
Let's switch places. I'm gonna hit this stuff over here. There you go.
I feel like my whole life has been leading up to this moment.
Yes. Get it right, or this is the last episode of Fatman Beyond ever.
Oh shit! And I'm thrown off. I'd be on the wrong side of the bar now. I think it's some of it is deciding what the core of that universe is, and it's abundantly clear that at this point it's Jay and Silent Bob, right? So it's got to be a Jay and Silent Bob story. I think you have to figure out a scenario to put Jay and Silent Bob in that gives you longevity and gives you an engine for that show, and what are they trying to accomplish that takes a long time to do. I kind of want to see Jay and Silent Bob v. the Apocalypse. And I kind of want it to be like a robot apocalypse. I don't want it to be zombies. I think zombies are too easy. But I think flummoxing Jay and Silent Bob by an overwhelming amount of robots that don't even look like robots, but have still killed everybody, except for Jay and Silent Bob, and like having to do battle with like grocery store robots just to get food, because most grocery stores are kind of robotic anyway at this point. Yeah, I think it's Jay and Silent Bob as two of the stewards for the survival of mankind. And is that mankind, if it's those two guys, worth saving?
I would never do that. Let me think. I do like the idea of them in an apocalyptic world, but fucking robots, demons, bitch. Like fucking raise them from hell. That way we just get to do the Golden Child. And I love the Golden Child. Yes, please. Give me the Anyanti Jagger.
My dear sweet brother Noomsi.
What would I do? Let me see. What would I do if I was given like a view? What could tell a story that pulls all those characters together? Well, we just literally, number one, we just did it with Jay and Silent Bob reboot. But to keep it going on a regular basis, to keep it like 10 episodes.
I mean, is there some fundamental thing that Castle Rock did in terms of like really uniquely taking a stab at that universe that could be applied in a little more abstract way than like, let's take the most two noticeable characters and throw them in like a hijink and Sue adventure, like
He
something
doesn't like
a little
your
more.
idea.
doesn't like
That's
my
what I'm
pitch
hearing.
at all.
Yeah,
Something a little more
not
nuanced.
feeling
he was disappointed by her idea.
Well, I mean, I think that what Castle Rock did or tried to do was distill what it means to be a Stephen King story, right? And what that means is got to be a small town. Members of that town all need to kind of know each other. There needs to be some otherworldly element at play that affects these people's lives. But that is about the vibe of what a Stephen King story feels like. And there's been so many of them, sheer numbers helps us distill down and find the entry points that make the most sense. So, I mean, I feel like it's a conversation then with Kev to be like, hey man, what do you think is the distillation points of all of the View Askew movies? What do you think is the unifying themes? What do you think is the necessary elements that need to be in there? I mean, some of it needs to be in Jersey, clearly. Nothing.
I got a pitch.
All right.
Crisis in Infinite Jerseys. So it is like, I always felt there's two versions of Jay and Silent Bob. There's the Clerks version of Jay and Silent Bob and the Mallrats version of Jay and Silent Bob. The black and white and the color version of Jay and Silent Bob. Those two worlds suddenly notice that they both fucking exist, and one of them's crashing. And you have to do that. One, Jay and Silent Bob exists in two realities, one in black and white reality, one a color reality. Only one reality is going to make it through.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty
And
dope.
then like Jay,
And it's a metaphor for like me letting go of the past finally, which I never will.
But that's the thing, because like Silent Bob black and white Silent Bob will need to sacrifice himself from the black and white universe and move to the color universe and be the one black and white character in that universe. Like one of them has to.
I get to live?
Of course you fucking get to live. But there has to be sacrifice, right?
Yes.
There has to be, somebody's got to do the thing that's impossible to do.
Yeah.
And let that be Silent Bob.
The thing that's impossible to do in a Kevin Smith movie, gross more than $30 million. That's the ultimate goal. That or what brings the entire universe together. Well, originally the plot for Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back was Quick Stop was going to be closed, and they went on a journey to find the money to keep it open, and not because like Dante and Randall originally didn't want it open. It was being closed and they were happy about it. Like, oh, it's going away. We don't have to work here anymore. And Jay and Silent Bob were upset because they have nowhere to stand. So they went out to find the money to save Quick Stop and stuff. Much to like the chagrin of Dante and Randall at the end, because like now we're fucking stuck here. I wouldn't do that.
But I also think like Yoga Hosers is probably the cleanest look at what the Stephen King pillars are, right? You've got two characters, both of which are friends but have some tension. You're in a place doing a job they don't want to be doing, and then like weird shit happens to them. Like that's what that story kind of feels like. And so, what are the other iterations of that story that we can look at? And if you're going to do Crisis on Infinite Jerseys, then like you got the girls, you got black and white, you got color, you got the two black dudes who were in fucking Harlem. You got the two guys working a bodega. You got like the various permutations of what convenience store life is like. And then one thing is threatening to destroy them all. And then they've got to...
Alanis Morissette. God is dead.
And then the robots are making Clerks literally
You ain't
obsolete.
getting your robots into this
I'm getting my fucking
thing.
robots, man.
Yeah, man, I don't know. The other thing would be to kill somebody off, yes. So you tell a story that brings them all together with the death of one of them. When we were making Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, we were doing videos. It was Joey and Zach Knutson, who went on to make that documentary about, what's his name, the guy that wrote the Jaws speech. Milius, wonderful doc, and he just directed SuperCon, movie about a heist at a Comic-Con. So Zach and Joey were shooting our behind-the-scenes video series, which was called Back to the Well. It was for Clerks 2. And at one point they were like, can we do a short where you intimate, like we accidentally show off like a piece of something that if you look real closely, details that Silent Bob dies in Clerks 2. And I was like, oh my God, that sounds fun, let's do it. And so we had storyboards laid out, and which is ridiculous. We never use storyboards for any of my movies. But one of the storyboards was like at a rainy cemetery, and the fucking tombstone was shaped like Silent Bob, and the plate said, "Forever Silent." So we put the video up, and sure enough, man, and what the decision was, we'll put the video up, let it be up for an hour, and then yank it down and not say why. And we did it, and nobody fell for it. Nobody fucking went for it, man. All that preparation, nobody was like, oh, he dies. But it would have been worth it.
When I worked at Playboy, we did an April Fool's Day joke, which was there are tunnels under the Playboy Mansion that were leading to like Warren Beatty's house and Jack Nicholson's house, and like there was this secret network of like fucking 70s pervs who needed to be able to get to the Playboy Mansion and without anybody seeing them do whatever nasty shit they were going to do and then get back under cover of darkness. And so we're like, all right, that's going to be our April Fool's Day joke, right? Right. Okay, here's what we have to do. We took a bunch of pictures of like there's a basement, there's a wine cellar that they were rehabbing, and so the story was when they're doing construction at the mansion, we found the old blueprints and we mocked up the fucking blueprints, and we had like video footage of finding it, and we dropped it 2 days before April Fool's Day, because you can't just fucking do an April Fool's Day joke on April Fool's. Everybody knows.
Right.
So it was like, all right, 2 days before, we're just gonna say, oh shit, look what we found, and it made the news. Like it made like fucking like Fox 5 and like local LA news, like tunnels under the Playboy Mansion. Look at these old perverts, and like And we said that Hefford sealed it up when he started having kids because he didn't want kids to get lost in the tunnels.
Right.
It's like, so yeah, it's a thing that doesn't exist anymore. It happened back in the day, and it worked. It worked so well. It was so delicious. Because my first pitch was, what if Hiff was like a crime fighter? He's basically like Bruce Wayne, but if Bruce Wayne decided not to fight crime, but just like actually drink and chase tail all the time.
Right.
What if he was actually a fucking superhero? What if he has a bat cave? No, but what if there are tunnels? Yes! I feel good about
That sounds better than his robots idea, I'll tell you that
A little
right
bit,
now.
yeah.
That was a great question, man. You
Thank you
win
so much.
tickets and a poster, my friend. When does it play at the Fringe Fest? One more time, yell it out.
It starts this Sunday. It starts this Sunday, and it's through all of June. An American Video Store. It's the life and death of blockbusters and Hollywood videos, which I'm sure everyone here has a very intimate relationship with. And Stephanie Fury Theater. It's on Melrose. It's very close to here. HollywoodFringe.org. Come check us out. American
Fucking
Video
A.
Store.
Give
Thank
it up
you.
for him, man. Grab your poster, grab your tickets. Goddamn pleasure. Before we go, hey, man, so look at this. Got a gift from the Smod Squad. The Smod Squad are the cats that come to all of the Fat Man on Batmans. They've gone out to Jay and Silent Bob Reboot as well, and they made a shirt. And this is for me. I get to keep this. Does Mark not get one?
I never get one, man.
Fuck you. Thank you for this, man. I'll fucking wear this next week and shit. When is our next show, by the way?
Our next show is the 18th, June 18th. And
So
then
that's not next week.
Not next week, and then June 25th, and then July 2nd.
Fantastic.
So we're skipping a week, and then the next 3 Tuesdays.
Tickets, as always, available at C-Smod. But that means we're at the end of tonight's show. We got no more content left. Ladies and gentlemen, have you had a good time this evening? Don't forget, when you're heading out, there's some stickers that Miles made for us all. They're going to be available right here on the bar. Grab those and whatnot.
I'm going to grab some.
Yeah, I grabbed some already.
Yeah, fuck that.
I love anything with my fucking face on it, man. Like, I'm so old school and biblical. Like, I love graven images of me. So this is right up my fucking alley. And you look adorable.
I do. We both have Pac-Man eyes, which I love.
That's awesome, right? The show, ladies and gentlemen, as always, is made possible by a grant from the MacArthur Foundation. No, it's made possible.
The Helena Rubinstein Foundation. Viewers like you.
And viewers like you. I was getting to that point. It is actually made possible by viewers like you, man. This is still like such a fun fucking show to do. It's so chill. It gets to be entertaining, but being entertaining doesn't seem to be its main function and whatnot. It's a nice chill out time where we just get to sit around and bullshit. And it took me a fucking red hot minute to get here, unfortunately, because the fucking Grateful Dead's playing at the Hollywood Bowl. Holy shit, traffic was fucking nasty. And at one point when I was driving, I was like, God fucking damn it. But then I realized where I was going. I was like, as soon as I get there, everything will be all right. And you know what? It was. Thank you for that, ladies and gentlemen. But there is no Fat Man on Batman with the guy without the man to my right. Normally he's to my left. Give it up for the great Marc Bernardin, ladies and gentlemen. And that is Fat Man Beyond for this week. I'm Kevin Smith.
I am Marc Bernardin.
Tune in next time, same fat channel, smodcast.com/Kevin Smith or
YouTube.com/Kevin Smith.
there it is. Good night, everybody.
Hey, scum and villainy, look by your feet, grab the empty glassware. Let's avoid a shattered disaster here. Thank you so much. Next show is June 18th. Hang out, have a drink.